Morning, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Good morning. I have a cold.
Oh, okay. Oh, man. Well, I guess you won't be teaching part of this, the class then this morning. Is that right?
How are you?
Doing well, doing well. All right, we got a couple of minutes. We'll everybody jump in. Everybody else doing okay? Everybody prepared to go over some good quality goal setting material today? Sounded like a yes to me. All right. So how many people are brand new to real estate? Is everybody here brand new or okay? All right, I have one hand
I
going
am
up.
brand new.
Brand new, okay, all right. Should probably phrase it another way. Is there anybody here that has been in real estate for a while, or maybe this is their second time taking Ignite? Anybody? Okay, Amy, second time, all right, good. Like to see that, that's good. Good. All right, well, this is actually a really, really good course. You're not going to find this at any other firm. So this is actually a great way to get things started and to actually understand. Well, I like to call it, this is a way to understand the street smarts of real estate, right? Everybody took the exam, you got your license, you know, they scared the hell out of you with telling you what not to do. And those are the book smarts, all the rules and the regulations. And this is actually how to take action and how to put things in place and really get things going. So it's a great course to be a part of. All right, Lisa's taken it several times. Cool. That's great. That's really good. All right. Now, does everybody have access to the materials? Everybody have the booklet there? We're on number 5, setting goals that matter. I know we missed on Wednesday, but it's basically number 5, the little handout there. Yeah, get your fire back. That's good. Good. Excellent. Let's see here. I am actually going to go in and see if I can get the student book, and I'll post that in the chat room here.
Good morning, Darren. It's Bill. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Bill, I can hear you. Absolutely. How you doing?
Thank you. Good. Thank you. Just checking my thanks.
See if anybody's looking for the workbook, see if that works for you. If not, let me know. And just want to make sure everybody has access to it. I'm gonna have to post it probably a couple of times too, but somebody tests it and it works, and just give me the thumbs up. We'll go from there. All right, we'll give it another minute. We'll get the last of the couple of folks. All right, perfect. It works. Thanks, Juliet. Get the last of the folks coming in, and we'll get things started here too. So first week in Ignite, what are some ahas, or what's something that a big takeaway from anybody out there? Just hop off a mute and just let me know some of the either one takeaway or several takeaways that you got there.
Oh my God. Excuse me. This is Lisa. Good morning.
Hi, Lisa.
Oh my God. I am obsessed with Rocketbook. Somebody mentioned it yesterday. for notes and being able to scan them and save them and file them and just, oh my God, I was up till midnight trying to get one for everyone in the family.
So
Life
Rocket Books,
changing.
just for everybody's benefit, because I know I'm not familiar with it. I don't, it sounds like Evernote, but just for everybody's benefit, would you mind just kind of, just explain to that?
Yeah, somebody brought it up yesterday. It comes in planners, it comes in notebooks, whether it's 8.5 by 11 to executive to just one of those little flip notebooks,
Okay.
where it's basically whiteboards in a tablet. It comes with special pens and you write on just like normal, but then it has a QR code in the corner, so you can take a picture of it and that QR code saves it into wherever you want to save it to, Dropbox, Google Drive, whatever. And then you can search it.
Awesome.
So all these millions of notes that I have taken in the last 5 years at classes are going to be much easier to organize and refer back to.
Nice. There you go. Okay. So there's a nugget. What else? Anybody else have a takeaway or an aha or something that was life-changing, like Rocket Books?
Hi, good morning. This is Ellen.
Hey, Ellen.
That it's more about service than sales. Just in that we don't need to necessarily be cold calling and just to, keep in touch with all of our contacts that we already have instead of going out to find the diamond in the rough that may not exist.
Oh, you got that right. I tell everybody, and I'll introduce myself in a second for those of you that don't know me and those of you that don't want to know me, but I actually tell all the folks that I work with that we are not salespeople. So take that completely out of the equation, because when you think of salespeople, immediately you're already putting a limiting belief into your mindset. We're all licensed professionals, right? We didn't just like all of a sudden, send $5 and get a in the mail and get a license back, in an envelope. We actually took a course, we studied, we are licensed professionals, which means that we're consultants, we're solution providers. But if people don't know that we can provide real estate solutions, then we don't have any business. So we have to go out and we have to talk to them, find out their real estate intention. We have to find out their real estate timing. Once we do that, if they've got a problem, okay, then hey, we can help you with that. Hey, we're thinking about selling our house. Great. Okay, perfect. I can help you with that. Well, we're thinking about, finally buying. Bless you, Tricia. We're thinking about buying and we don't know how to do it. Well, it's great. I know the process. I can help you out with that. But we've got to go out there. We've got to put ourselves out there. And as uncomfortable as that is, that's the only way that that's going to happen. Now, I'm going to take a poll now, and I'll probably take a poll at the very end. How many people have had their phone ring right now with people just clamoring to do real estate transactions with them, right? Anybody's phone ringing right now? Probably not. Okay. And we'll do it again, a couple hours from now. Probably going to be the same thing. So because of that, then we need to go to them. So always remember that we are real estate solution providers. So, all right. Okay. So let's see here. Let me actually get started. I'm going to share my screen. And one of the things you're going to realize from me is that I like to make this as interactive as possible. So just jump in whenever you guys have a question or a thought or anything like that. All right. And let me know when the screen pops up here if everybody can see it.
Yes, I have it.
Perfect.
Yep.
Excellent. All right, good. That's great. So, all right. So my name is Darren. I am a productivity coach with Keller Williams Legacy Partners here in Connecticut. We have 8 offices throughout the state, and I have about 58 people that I have in my coaching program. I've been teaching Ignite for a few years now. It's an excellent course. All right. I'll tell you, this session right here at this point is probably the most important session that you're going to have. This is extremely important. And they really wanted somebody who had a vast amount of experience, who really specialized in goal setting, who was like top notch in terms of teaching this class. And when they couldn't find that person, they brought me in. But either way, this is going to be something that's really going to help you to drive your real estate career. All right. Now, as a productivity coach, I see people of all kinds of levels of experience. So from brand new to pretty much, 15, 17 years in the business. And I've worked with a lot of different people. And the one thing that really sets everyone apart is those folks that put goals down and actually have goals that they go off of are pretty much, that's the difference maker right there. That's the thing that's going to actually set everyone apart. So if you take this seriously and you actually implement this, this is actually going to help you to get things going very quickly, because you're going to know exactly what it is that you need to do. All right. So has anybody started taking any actions? I know we just started this week, but has anybody started taking any actions on over things that they've learned here?
I'm actually now trying to build my database.
Database? Awesome. Database is fantastic. Fantastic. Yep. Anybody know why we start with our database and the people we know versus going out to people we don't know?
It's that much easier.
You got it. Yep. It's that much easier. Honestly, half the battle's already won, right? All we got to do is introduce the people we know to the fact that we're in real estate now. Right? We don't have to build a rapport. Okay. With strangers, we got to build that rapport, and then we got to let them know we're in real estate. It's twice as hard. Okay. Ashley, you had your hand up. You got a action that you're taking?
No, I was just gonna say that I'm at work, so I won't be able to participate as much as I'd like to. But I was just gonna say, you asked like, is anyone taking any steps this week with Ignite? And I actually reached out to some people like on Monday and Tuesday, and Wednesday, like earlier this week, and it's been going pretty well for me. So I really appreciate the trainings, and it feels very inspiring and igniting.
Yep, there you go. That's the whole point of it, right? And this is called Spark for a reason. This is going to spark your real estate career. This is going to get you going. This is laying the foundation for it. And Ashley, because you said you're at work, I'm going to call on you a lot for this. Okay, get you to participate. So no, I'm just kidding you. All right. One thing that you will realize is that I have no problem with uncomfortable silence, right? I actually embrace it. So that's how I get engagement from folks. So if I ask a question, we don't have anything, we could sit here for a while. That's fine. I have no problem with that. And as you get into your business, you're going to get comfortable with it, uncomfortable silence as well, too. It's a great motivator for folks on the other side. All right.
Okay.
So today we're going to be talking about basically setting goals that matter, right? So there's basically activities that successful agents do every single day. All right. Now, number one, obviously, we do things to grow our business. All right. We grow our business and we run our business. And the actions are pretty much consistent. And there are things that we have to do on a regular basis. It's going to be a while before we get to the point where we could say, okay, I don't have to lead generate anymore. I've got a tremendous amount of business. I don't have to worry about it. And until we get to that point, it should be a regular occurrence, a regular activity that we do every single day. And excuse me, everything that you see here is all the stuff that comes straight from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. All right. How many people have that book? Anybody have the MREA? No? I would suggest either going on Amazon.
That is one thing I've done.
What's that?
From this course, I've gone and bought that book.
Okay.
Everyone keeps talking about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was a manual basically that was written in 2002 that still applies today. There hasn't been another version. There's talk that there's a version 2.0. And at this point, it hasn't come out yet because the original version is just so well written. It's got everything in there. So it takes you from being a brand new agent all the way up to the point of being a team leader of what we call a 7th level team. All right. Now, everything that you see there, all the activities and everything is all that we teach, everything we teach in Ignite. But many of the things there are just tried and true actions that have not changed over time, really. I mean, they talk about success leaving clues. So if we don't try to recreate the wheel or get too cute with all the activities that we try, just follow the roadmap. Everything's been laid out in front of you. It's simple, but not easy. The bold law that's out there, it's there. You can see it, but a lot of people don't like to take the action, right? And each one of these activities that you do to grow your business and run your business is essential, okay, to having a successful business. So when we talk about what we're going to talk about today, we're going to be focusing on, okay, and growing your business, obviously lead generation. Okay, lead generation. And to run your business, we're going to be talking about setting goals, right? And, attending training and getting coaching. This is all part of what we do here. Okay. And as we go through, just stop, interrupt me. If you guys have questions, just interrupt me and just jump right in and, be able to answer everything that you have there and then participate. If you guys have ideas and thoughts, just jump right in. Have no problem. I want to make this more of a dialogue than a monologue here. All right. So Here is what we're going to be covering today. We're going to be talking about envisioning your big life. We're going to be talking about understanding your goal. Why do you have the goal that you have for real estate? We're going to talk about the activities that are going to help us to get there. If we don't take action, okay, we will not get there. That is something that's going to also determine your success. Taking consistent action every single day. There are going to be days that you don't want to do stuff. There are going to be days you're going to be love doing stuff. However, you keep that momentum going. You do that at those consistent activities every single day, you will have success, right? Then we're going to tie a nice little bow on it, and we're going to talk about the activities that you can do on a regular basis to be successful. All right. I liken this course to being like Waze. All right. If we know that we wanted to drive to, let's say, Phoenix, Arizona. All right. If we actually have Waze, which is our goals, right, we'll get there and we'll take the most efficient route, the quickest route, and we'll get there no problem. If we decide to wing it, we could end up in Albuquerque. We could end up in Canada. We have no idea. And we could be fumbling around for the longest time. There's a lot of people out there that say, hey, I don't need help. I can do this on my own. And when you check in with them 6, 9, 12 months later and they haven't done anything and they're lost, you know, you're just hoping you didn't get to them too late. You've got everything laid out there. When we set our goals, all right, it's going to help us to lay out that roadmap. And that's what we want. Make this as easy as possible. Don't make it difficult. Okay. Don't make it difficult. So why would we set goals in the first place? Let's ask that question. Why would we set goals? What's the point? We talked a little bit about it, but let me get your thoughts on that.
You don't know when you've succeeded if you don't have the end point.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, we don't want to always be about numbers. Like, well, did you hit your numbers? Did you hit your numbers? Keller Williams isn't like that. We're not going to put like quotas or anything like that. But if you can't measure your progress, you have no idea how far you've come. Good point. Good point. What else?
If you have a goal, I imagine you can sort of work backwards and imagine, you know, if you need a certain income or want a certain income, you can sort of work backwards and imagine how much you need to earn per house. And over how long a duration, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. You can reverse engineer the path. So if we've got a goal and say, hey, I want to do 100 homes this year, 100 transactions. Excellent. All right. What does that mean? Let's work that back per month, per week, per day. What do we have to do? So that'll get us there. I read a quote not that long ago, and it said that it went something like the person without goals is usually working for the person with goals. All right. So having that clarity and having that endpoint really makes a big difference between success and doing something else. So Eric, you get your hand up there?
Yeah, I was just gonna say something I had heard, which is basically just a rewording of what we're talking about years ago from an old employer, was, you know, you can't run a race if you don't know where the finish line is. Yep. And that's always stuck with me, you know, because that obviously speaks directly to, you know, telling yourself where you want to be to get there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's great. That's great. You know, we don't know where we're going. Don't know if we got there. So that's perfect. Excellent. So we got some good things in the chat here too. All right, perfect. Okay, great. So how many people have heard of the one thing? We just talked about the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, but how many people have heard of the one thing? If you have heard of it, how many people can actually describe the book or what its premise is? All right, Ellen has it, but hasn't read it yet. Anybody read it or know what it's about?
Absolutely. Just talking about focusing on the things that matter.
Mm-hmm.
What is the quote? What is the one thing you can do today that makes everything else unnecessary?
Exactly.
Like focus on the task at hand.
Right. Yep. Yep.
It's the anti-multitasking.
You're right. Absolutely. Multitasking is a myth, and that's a good point there too. So for Lisa, Stephen, those are great points. And yet, at least you got the quote down pat. That's perfect. And Stephen, multitasking, right? Don't ever get into a process where you are doing so many things at once, because what you're going to do is it's going to be detrimental in the long run, right? Set aside time and focus on that one activity during that time that's going to essentially accomplish things and make everything else unnecessary, like Lisa had mentioned here, all right? Simplify, simplify, simplify. This business is complicated enough as it is. We don't need to make it more complicated. And again, like I said, everything has been laid out for us. We have the roadmap here, all right? We just have to make sure we're focusing on the things that are most important, all right? We're going to be talking about principles in here that are going to make our lives easier as long as we focus on it. So as of right now, all right, if we had to pick one activity for us that's most essential, most important, anybody want to take a guess as to what that would be?
Lead generation?
You got it, lead generation, right? Nobody likes to hear that word, but that's really what it is, right? So when you're a new agent, you're coming in, obviously training is important and lead generation. Those are the two biggest activities, lead generation being the number one thing. Some places out there limit new agents when they come in terms of the activities that they can do. You know, they don't want you to get too far too fast. We don't have that here. We say basically you come in, if you got a buyer or seller, we'll hit the ground running. Let's get into it. Let's go, right? But if we don't have that business, we have to go out and get that business. Now, lead generation may sound like a dirty word to most folks, okay? But really what it is, it's going out and building your business. It's having conversations. It's having conversations. And you're going to learn that there's two types of lead generation. There's prospecting and there's marketing. But really, we want to become familiar with going out there and having real estate conversations. And we want to say like, okay, well, how many conversations do I need to have in a day? Well, that comes through goal setting right here. That's going to be the biggest thing. We want to find out from people, okay, what their real estate intentions are and what their real estate timing is. And by doing that, it's just reaching out and talking to them, just having simple conversations, right? And there's 3 words that'll get those conversations off the ground and they work every single time. How are you? Pretty simple, right? How are you? It gets conversations going. People talk. They say, okay, you know, I got this, that, the other thing going on. Okay, perfect. You know, and you ask them, how's work going? Good. Okay, good. And they ask you, how's work going? As a matter of fact, you know, I'm a licensed real estate specialist with Keller Williams. You know, do you know of anybody looking to buy, sell, or invest? You know, if not, you know, that's fine. Let me know if you do. Simple. What's your real estate intention? What do the next 12 months look like for you? Right. But what we're going to do is we're going to develop goals that allow us to sit there and say like, okay, if I had X number of conversations each day, all right, how close would that get me to actually getting an agreement or an appointment and then an agreement and then eventually leading to a closing? And that's what we're going to be focusing on. If we wake up every day and we don't have any goals set, we don't know what our actions are going to be, we're going to basically kind of fumble our way through this. But having clarity and having direction through the goals is going to help us to actually get through and do what we need to do. All right. So one of the things that is in here that they talk about in the one thing is simplifying as much as you can so that you can accomplish more. All right. And at Keller Williams, one of the biggest beliefs that we have is that when you come into real estate, this isn't a hobby. All right. We take this seriously, and the people that come in take this seriously. If you want to create the ultimate real estate lifestyle, all right, essentially everything is laid out for you. We just have to work in your personal goals in order for you to get there. But this becomes you accomplishing your real estate lifestyle. Now, does anybody know the mission statement for Keller Williams at all? We're not talking about the Y4C2TES, but we're talking about the mission statement. Anybody have that? Anybody know that?
God, family, business.
That's part of it. Yep, absolutely. That's one of it. Yep. Has anybody ever heard of the mission Keller Williams is to build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living, experiences worth giving, and legacies worth leaving? All right. That's complicated. It's more than a mouthful there. However, it all revolves around each of us, okay, building the real estate lifestyle that we want. Now, if you came in here and said like, look, I just want to do 1 or 2 transactions a year and I want to basically, you know, be able to supplement what's going on with my family, and that's fine for me. Perfect. That's great. Come in and say, I want to do 100 transactions a year. I want to kill it. I want to build my own team. Yeah, great. We'll help you with that too. Right. But understanding the pathway to get there so that we can build that lifestyle, you know, that's essential. And that's what we focus on here. All right. Anybody have any questions on anything so far?
Yes, Darren, what was that quote you just said? Simplify as many things as you can. So
Boy, that's a great question. I just kind of said simplify as many things as you can so that you can basically hit the goals at the end. I think I can't really remember now.
okay.
So I apologize. Anybody else?
I'll check the recording.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that, you know.
No
Obviously,
problem.
I've got the short-term memory going here. So, all right, so let's take a look at the screen that we have here. All right, what does this mean? What is this telling us?
The more action you take, the bigger your outcomes.
Absolutely, that's a big part of it, you know. Taking bigger actions will lead to bigger outcomes, right? Anything that we do, okay, is generating momentum. And the more action we take, the more momentum we generate. And that's going to get us to our goal faster. If we start to go and then stop, and then we start to go and we stop, or we take 2 weeks off not to do anything, we've got gaps in that momentum. It's almost like an air bubble working through a water hose, right? You got to wait for that bubble to work its way through before you can get things going. That's why it's essential. First thing we got to do is we got to think big. We want to go out there and think as big as we possibly can, right? Once we have that big thought, that's going to help us to stay motivated to take those actions. And if we take small actions over time, we're going to get small, outcomes. If we take big actions and we really dream big in terms of what it is that we want to do, all right, we're going to have big outcomes. Think of it this way, all right? How many of us have said that, yeah, in my first year, I want to make $100,000, right?
Mhm.
A lot of people, that's typical, right? We see that a lot, right? If you made 75 or 80,000, would you consider that year a failure?
Yes.
You would?
No, because you're aiming high.
Yeah, absolutely. You're aiming high. I mean, if you think of it as a failure, okay, I could see that, but I think you're being a little bit hard on yourself, right? How many people went to school to become a realtor? How many people went to college or get an undergraduate degree, whatever it is, in real estate? Anybody? Okay, nobody did. Nobody went to school for this. And for a lot of us, this is a second, third, 12th, 17th career that we've had, right? All right. So we don't just come in and automatically know everything right off the bat. That's the big thing. But we work at it. A lot of people think that because they have outside work experience, that you just come in and everything should be easy. Unfortunately, it's not the case. There is a ramp up period. Now, you will get into business, you will get that momentum pretty quick. You start working on things. However, you've got to understand that there's a learning curve that comes into this. So that's why it's really essential for us to plan really big with our goals. Because honestly, if you aim for 100,000 and you get 75 or 80, I'd say that that's progress. That's excellent. Because now you've got momentum. I've seen it all the time. People start going and maybe they do 4 transactions, maybe they do 8 transactions, 10 transactions in the first year, whatever it is. All right. After the first year, that just doesn't stop and you got to start over again. That just starts to snowball and get bigger. People who do 8 transactions do 16 to 20 in the next year. People who do 10 transactions do 25 to 30. It just starts to compound and get bigger because they started taking the actions and they, like we said before, the consistent actions. But honestly, you could take, as many actions as you can, you're going to learn, okay? You either get better or you get worse. By taking those actions, you're going to get better, all right? You're just creating that momentum. If you go out there and you door knock and you go to, let's say, 30 homes in your neighborhood, nobody's home, or somebody slams the door in your face, you're like, okay, that was a failure. It wasn't a failure, right? You learned, you got comfortable, you went out, you had to talk to somebody because they slammed the door in your face, but you took the action, right? Now, the next time you do that, that action gets easier. Try posting a video out there. Try putting a video out there on your Facebook page. I'm part of a 30-day challenge right now where every day I've got to put out anywhere from a 1-minute to a 5-minute video every single day on my Facebook page. First time I did that, it took me an hour and a half, 72 different takes, didn't work. But now today's day 11, it's like just get in front of the camera, shoot the video. So it is what it is. Do that on your own Facebook page. Go Facebook Live, right? Anything like that. Take the action. Do the big action. That's going to lead to outcomes. And there's a difference between failing and failure. All right. So everybody take notice. There's a difference between failing and failure. Failing means that you're learning. All right. If you're not out there taking action and failing, you're not learning. Go out, take the action, flub it up if you have to. It doesn't matter. You're going to learn from it. You're going to get better immediately. Right. Failure means that you quit and you stopped and you let it get the better of you. And what that's going to do is that's going to stop you from taking action. And you don't want to do that. All right. Go out there and fail. Like they say, fail miserably, fail happily, whatever it is. Just go out there and take the action. It doesn't matter. Right. Nobody's going to remember. A lot of times nobody cares. But if you're taking big action, any action, right, it's going to lead to something, no matter what. It will lead to something. All right. And you want it to lead it to the outcomes that you want as quickly as possible. So the more action you take, more potential for the outcome. All right. Everybody getting this so far? Any questions at all? All right. So let's keep going. All right. So what could get in the way of us actually taking these actions?
Fear.
Fear, absolutely. And where does fear stem from?
For me, lack of confidence.
Lack of confidence. Where does that lack of confidence come from?
Feeling like I don't know what I should know, or maybe not. Well, I can speak from perspective of being new to this. I feel like I just don't know enough, and that's why I'm trying to learn every day. But that's where my lack of confidence, which leads to fear, comes from.
Yep.
We fear success more than failure.
Yep. I can see that too. Absolutely. Absolutely. Fear success more than failure. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Hold on a second. This is happening way too fast here. Let me slow this down. So I don't want this much money right off the bat. Oh yeah, that happens. Sure. What's the big thing? The fear, all of that. What does it stem from?
Inexperience.
Inexperience? Sure. Absolutely. But keep pointing my head here. And it's not because there's a glare. I'm just basically saying it's mindset. It's limiting beliefs. Okay. All right. Limiting beliefs. You immediately come out of the gate and we say, oh, whoa, hold on a second here. You know, I know I just took a 40, 60 hour class, whatever you have, and I took an exam and I know I'm licensed and stuff like that, but I can't talk real estate. How am I going to talk real estate? One thing that we got to remember, okay, if you had a scale of 0 to 10, okay, 10 being like, yes, you're a master at real estate and, you know, you're, whatever it is, you're the best that there is. 0 being like, I don't even know what the word real estate means, all right? The average consumer that's out there is at a 2. They may think that they're higher than that, but they're at a 2. Okay. We, even as new agents, are at a 7 at a bare minimum, which means that you've got this massive, okay, head start, lead, knowledge, basically advantage over the average consumer that's out there. Whether you know that or not, you know more than about 90% of the people that are out there. You are on a scale of 1 to 10, a 7 versus a 2. You'll be surprised. You go out there and you have conversations. I've had agents that, within a week or two, okay, of talking and learning about real estate, they're holding their own in conversations. I have one person who was in the nail salon, was talking to the nail tech, and pretty soon she had everybody in the nail salon surrounded around her, and she's talking real estate, and she didn't even know she could do it, right? You all have that capability. You all have that ability, all of that. And just go out, you just have to have the conversation just to prove it. Right. But the limiting belief, to Roberta's point there, is like, I don't have the confidence. I don't know what I don't know. You'll get that just by participating in this and going out and having the conversations. Just surprise yourself. Right. And maybe it is a fear of failure, fear of success, but you won't know anything and you won't know the results unless you take the action. Right. How many sports coaches are out there when they get in front of their team being like, well, I kind of wish that, I knew it was going to happen this season, but we might do well, we might not. I don't know. I mean, no, just they go out there and be like, yeah, we're going to win big, right? Any questions? This is what we have to do. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to take action. I'm going to win big. What do we got to do? Right? Even the best of the best are always, they have stumbling blocks along the way. They have issues, things that come up. So, don't worry about it. You're going to, kind of basic, by taking action, you're going to figure it out. You're going to figure it out real quick. Right. This is the guidepost. This is going to help you to get there. All right. So,
what helps me a little bit?
What's that?
You know what helps me a little bit?
Yeah, sure. What's that?
I thought I'd just share this. I was just thinking about it. You achieve smaller goals in your life, whatever they are. Losing weight, I don't know, anything small.
Yeah,
And those are just little building blocks.
absolutely. Absolutely. Chunk it down. All right. If you've got a big goal out there, chunk it down to small steps. If you say like, yeah, I want to go to the gym and I want to be doing it 5 days a week, maybe the first thing is just driving to the gym in the morning, getting out of the car, looking inside and getting in the car and leaving, going back. Okay. Hey, you accomplished something. You got there, right? First step. And then you slowly build upon that. So yeah, Stephen, that's a great point. That's a really good point. So the actions that we take, right? If we're starting to couple this with what we learned earlier in the week about our data bank, our database, right? This is where we start to take those steps toward taking action. We're going to call the sphere of influence, the people that we know, the database, however you want to describe it, because these people are going to be happy to hear from us. If they're not happy to hear from you, either you owe them money or they shouldn't be in your database anyways, right? Okay. So stick with it to the point where you actually are reaching out to these people so you can start to build up that confidence. You can start to basically exhibit your real estate knowledge, let them know what it is that you know. And that's going to start to lead to other things down the road. Okay. And that's why we try to make it as easy as possible. Don't complicate it. Don't complicate it. All right. It's there for a reason. We're doing this so that we can actually start to build up our experience. And that's why we start off with our sphere of influence. All right. Making sense so far? It's good. Good. Okay. All right. So we actually have in your student handbook, we actually have a exhibit that we're going to be going over now. It's on page 3, I believe. Yeah. Okay. So if you have it, it's on page 3. I'm going to actually post it again in the chat. So if anybody came in late, that they can click on it and get there. All right. But what we're going to be talking about is essentially envisioning our big life. All right. We're going to start to measure our goals based on production and financial targets here, financial goals, production goals, all of that. But we want to start off and we want to have clarity in terms of what it is that we're doing. Why are we doing this? What is it that we really want to achieve when it comes to being in real estate, right? Did anybody get into real estate and take that god-awful course and sit for the exam just for the fun of it? If you did, just let me know, raise your hand. You'd be the first one I've seen so far. Probably not, right? Okay, so I don't have anybody. Great, as far as I can tell. We did this for a reason. We did this for a purpose. And there's a goal behind us doing this and going in and putting ourselves through that course and the exam. And a lot of it has to do with some sort of financial endeavor that we want, some sort of financial goal that we have. So if you take a look at page 3, you're going to see that there is a circle, okay, with a dollar sign in the middle, and then there's 5 rectangles on the outside, right? And what we're doing is we're going to actually envision what our big life looks like here. All right. So we're going to get clarity on what it is, what's our purpose, what is it that we're doing this for? All right. And getting a vision on what that is. So when you take a look at this, what I want everybody to do, and we're going to take about 10 minutes to work on this. I want everybody to, number 1, take a look at each of those rectangles. Now you could use all of them, some of them, you can add more if you want, but each one of these rectangles represents either a cause or a person that you care about. A cause or a person that you care about, meaning like you see right here, the mortgage, okay, paying off a mortgage. Maybe there is a charity that you want to help. Okay, whoops, sorry. Maybe there are people that you want to help. It could be anything and everything, but what it is personal and it's specific to you. Now
mine's
yep.
cut off. I don't know if anyone else has seen this, but mine's my.
Well, this is just an example of it. What we're doing is we're going off of what's in the book right here, what's in your booklet. So what you see on the screen here, I know, and they do a terrible job of just cutting this off. So we're not really going by that. We'll explain at least a little bit better. So I apologize.
I see. All right, sorry.
So no worries. That's a good point though. That happened actually the last 2 times that we've done this. So it's a common problem. I got to fix this. So each of these rectangles, cause or a person that we care about, and then a dollar amount associated with that. So if you say like, okay, like it says here, paying off the mortgage, $18,000. It could be like donating money to a charity, $5,000. And charity is American Liver Foundation or my local church. Or maybe it's paying off, my kids' student loans, something like that, my student loans, whatever it is. All right. So each one of these represents something that we can envision basically helping these people with or paying off, helping ourselves with. And what we want to do is we want to write that in there along with the dollar amount. And then once we have everything in there, whether it's all 5 or whether it's 1 or 2 or whether it's like 6 or 7, we're going to total that in the center so that we actually have that one big amount that we're going to be shooting for. Now, listen, this could be as little or as big as you want. Remember, we are thinking big about this. We're going through this exercise so that we can't limit ourselves. We're not going to let those limiting beliefs, confine us to a smaller dollar amount or something that really, we say, well, I don't want to think too big. Yes, you do want to think big so that you have something to shoot for. And this isn't something that's probably going to happen in first year or second year, but this is your ultimate goal. Because remember, we just talked about the mission for Keller Williams. We're building real estate lifestyles. This isn't a hobby. We're not here to do this for 6 months and say, I think maybe I'll just give it a shot. No, this is something we're really going to be enveloped in this, and this is going to become our life here. And that's why we're going through this, this exhibit right here. All right. So right now I got 9:38 on here. So why don't we go until 9:48, going in, writing in, give it some deep introspective, put the person or cause in there, the dollar amount, add it up, and then we'll chat about it. And if anybody wants to share theirs, by all means, go right ahead. So we'll do that again, page 3 of your workbook. All right. Anybody have any questions on that at all? We're good. Okay. So we'll give it 10 minutes and we'll check back in 9:48. How's everybody doing? Anybody have any questions on that?
No,
No,
Anybody need more time at all? Gonna give you 10 minutes, but maybe 10 minutes isn't needed. No?
no.
Okay. All right. So is there anybody that wants to share? We don't have to, but I'm just throwing it out there. Does anybody want to share some of their basically things they envision for their big life and what their ultimate goal is?
I'll go.
One of mine is to pay off my mortgage.
Okay. Perfect. That's good. Thanks, Juliet. Eric, yep, you got one?
Yep. So moving the family into a larger home, we'd like to expand our family, and in so doing, that's going to require a larger home for ourselves. So that's certainly on the big ticket list.
Perfect. That's great. Two good things right there. Excellent. Very good. And remember, this is custom to you. There's no right or wrong answer to it. This is all for you in coming up with this.
Saving for my kids' college.
Yep. Save the kids' college. Very good. Yeah, there you go.
Pay my taxes and condo fees.
Taxes and condo fees. Well done. There you go.
Pay off my daughter's school and charities.
Very good. Very good. So does everybody understand why we're doing this here? What this does is it actually gives you clarity on your vision. Okay, you're starting to understand is like, okay, there's a reason why we're in real estate. Okay, so you have basically, you're envisioning your big life on the outside. These are the people and causes, everything like that you want to tackle. And that amount in the middle, I kind of mentioned it before, that's your goal right there. That's your big goal. Now you've got a number goal associated with it, right? So we're starting to develop that pathway. Like we said, when we're taking Waze or Google Maps, we're starting to get clarity on, okay, we've got our end destination. Now we're going to start to backtrack and figure out how do we get there. But without this, I mean, you could wake up every day being like, I don't know what I'm doing today. I'm not sure where I'm going. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I'm not sure what I'm tackling. I have no idea, what's out there. Maybe I won't do anything today, right? Now that we've got a little bit of purpose behind what we're doing and a number associated with it, it makes us probably a little bit more motivated, right?
Yeah.
Anybody not motivated by the number that's out there? Okay.
It's a little daunting.
Yeah, and it should be. It should be. Didn't we just, have that conversation about talking about like, okay, dream big, right? Think big. Take
Yep.
massive action, put massive goals out there. Hey, you've got a massive dollar amount, then that just means that that's going to be more of a motivator. Maybe you work that much harder, right? If you have this.
So we're not like, this is just the number that we're reaching for, but do we work into the formula somewhere, how like the mortgage, let's say, how that dwindles down monthly? Like, do we?
Now, we're not trying to overcomplicate it. What we're going to do is we're going to have everything here. Let's say that you've got all 5 boxes like out there, right? And you've got this in front of you on a whiteboard or whatever it is in your office. And as you accomplish each one of those, right, just cross them off, right? If you want to adjust the amount that's in there, maybe every 2-3 months, maybe you're chipping away at stuff, that's fine. Put that in there too, right? Whatever is going to work for you in terms of keeping that motivation going, then that's fine. But this is now giving us clarity, like I said, because we now have a number attached to the reason why we're in this business. And if that number is big, then we just got to work that much harder. That's fine. There's no right or wrong answer to this. All right. Is that good? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, good. Okay, so now we're going to get into understanding our goal. All right. So has anybody ever seen this exhibit before? Have you ever done the objection handler on where your commission goes? Anybody familiar with this at all? Okay. All right. So we're going to break through this and we're going to talk about it. Now, this right here is for our understanding, right? So I'm not sure how many of you have actually done a transaction before, but if you haven't, this is a great understanding of number one, where the commission goes. The second thing that this is useful for is when you actually have the objection, when you're talking to a listing client sitting there across the table from them, and they say, well, why should I pay, your commission seems awfully high. Why should we pay that? This is very good in terms of a display of explaining where all of this goes. All right. So you got to understand exactly where your commission work goes and how it works, because this is going to help us to understand, like, okay, as I start to get momentum and I start taking actions and have closings, I want to understand that, okay, that full chunk of money doesn't go straight to me, and I've got to budget appropriately, but I really want to know how this all breaks down. All right. And if I can explain it, that means that I understand it. Okay. Now, I'm going to go over this once, and then I'm going to show you how you can do it with a visual representation. All right. So the way that this works is you've got basically this $1 bill represents your entire commission. All right. So if we actually take a look at that, when we're actually at a listing appointment and we get our 6%, let's say, all right, half of that is going to the other side. We don't get the full amount, right? The other half is for the buyer's agent when they come through, right? So if we have that $1, we've now split that in half, and half of that is going to the other side. So we don't get the full amount, right? Many people are, you know, especially when you talk to a listing, they get mistaken. They're like, what, you get 6%? It's like, no. Okay. Right. Half of it goes to the other side. Now we take a look at the half that we get. Okay. A portion of that goes to the market center, right? We do have to pay our split with the market center. Wherever we are, that's typically how it operates. So we get our half, and then part of that goes to the market center. It all depends on what your commission split is with the market center. Okay. Then there's a portion that we take out that goes to business expenses, right? We have to basically sometimes come up with the cost for the photographer, for the drone, for putting up signs, for any Facebook ads, things like that we do. Okay. There's marketing expenses that go in there, or just general expenses that go along with listing a home. All right. So now we're starting to eat into that amount. So people may see that first amount being like, ooh, this is fantastic. It's like, wait a minute. Okay. This is getting smaller and smaller. Yes. And we do have to understand that so that we know that, okay, this is what I'm going to be working with. So this is going to help me in terms of my understanding of how to achieve my big financial goal that we just came up with, right? Now, the last part that we get, okay, it's left over from that half after we take out the market center and the business expenses. That's what comes to us. And we don't even get that full amount because we do want to put money aside for taxes, right? We do have to account for taxes. So when you take a look at the grand scheme, that full dollar, right, we're only getting a very small sliver of that. Right now, a great visual representation for this is if you had 5 $1 bills and 4 quarters. So the way that this works is if you're sitting across from somebody and said, okay, I understand where you're coming from. You think the 6%, we get the full amount, but unfortunately, that's not the case. So if you have the 5 $1 bills and the 4 quarters, what you do is you take 3 of the $1 bills, you put them aside. So, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, that goes to the buyer's agent. And we want to bring in the best buyer's agent because we want professionals that are showing your home that are going to bring us the best buyer possible, right? So we need to fairly compensate them for the work that they put in. So now you're left with 2 $1 bills and 4 quarters, right? Now, one of those dollar bills goes to the market center, right? We put that aside. So now we're left with the $1 and the 4 quarters. We take that last remaining dollar and we say, okay, these are the marketing expenses. These are business expenses that we're going to use to put your home out there and highlight it to as many people as possible. Okay. So that goes off to the side. Now we're left with the 4 quarters. So we say, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm going to take 2 of these quarters. I'm going to obviously put this aside because that goes towards taxes. We're independent contractors. So now what I'm left with is those nice 2 shiny quarters when all is said and done. So when you take a look at the breakdown of everything that's out there, right, whether you're understanding it yourself or you're displaying it to the clients that you're listing with, all right, we don't get the full amount. And we need to budget appropriately, and we need to understand where our money goes and what's being left over for us. Okay. Does this make sense? What questions do we have on this?
Do you find yourself typically waiting until you have isolated this topic as an objection, or are there situations where you proactively throw this out there to nip that concern in the bud without it being, you know, without it having to kind of draw it out of the client?
Don't bring up an objection if the client hasn't brought it up. Okay. So I wouldn't show this unless they actually had some concerns about commission or they didn't understand it appropriately. Then I would display this, right? This is kind of like in case of emergency brake class. So what I would say is, you know, so we've gone through the listing presentation, we've got everything set. So the next step would be for us to sign the agreement and get the sign in the yard. And we're like, well, we want to think about it. Okay. What's holding you back from signing with me today? Well, I think your commission is too high. Okay, great. Other than commission, Is there any other reason why you wouldn't sign with me today? So we've isolated the objection to be like, nope. Okay. Okay, great. So let me explain to you exactly how that commission is broken down, because I apologize. I didn't give you a good understanding of it in the beginning. Then I'd go through the process and I'd say, okay, does that answer your question? Do you have a better understanding of this now? Because they're looking at the 6% thinking it's going to you. So that's when I would do that. If that would help in terms of visual representation, that's what I would do.
Great, thanks.
Yeah. This is also more for us to understand, right? We've got to basically have a good handle on this, because if you're taking a look at, you put a listing in there and you take a look at the amount that's coming and you think you're getting that full amount, that's a complete misnomer there. We want to make sure that we understand what our portion ultimately ends up being, because that's going to help us to plan for what we need to do for production to get us to that big goal that we have to achieve that big goal.
Darren, this is a good illustration because I've had deals out there 5%. Some realtors are doing it for 3%.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So,
and what they're doing is they're basically hurting the entire industry, because honestly, people, most agents, it's tough for them to make any money at less than 2.5%, 2%. So if you're taking a 3% listing, then either you are losing money on the listing or you're not offering enough to compensate a buyer's agent for looking at that. And it's just damaging the entire industry. They're doing it just to get the listing, to get buyers or whatever they can, knowing full well it's probably not going to sell.
And my
I've
coach
heard-
used this illustration. Sorry to interrupt you.
Okay.
My coach used this illustration and he took it even a step further, because the objection was, well, someone I know is giving me a cheaper rate.
Mhm.
And he used this illustration, and then he said, if someone is giving you a discounted rate, where are they going to take what they're taking home from? Do you think that they're going to not take their share, that sliver of the dollar that's left over?
Mhm.
They're going to take the portion, the discount from your marketing.
Right.
From your marketing budget, so that,
Yeah.
you're not going to get the marketing that you're going to get from me.
Right. And there's multiple ways to handle that, at least a little bit more. And this, getting into script practicing routines, you talk about, if they came in at 4%, then obviously, if they're taking money out of their own family's mouths, how are they going to handle your largest asset? Or yes, if you want me to match that, then what part of the marketing that I gave you, the full scale marketing, do you want me to take out? Or listen, if you're using a discount realtor, does that mean that you consider your house to be a discounted house? So there's a lot of different ways for that, but good points there. Thanks, Joel. Michael, you get your hand up?
Yeah, I just had a question.
Yeah.
I'm actually I'm talking to a seller down in Somerville. One of his objections was that he has a wife whose realtor is a cousin or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he believes that he's charging his commission at 5%, which is a little too pricey for him. But I was thinking I could tell him, hey, I'm willing to take 4%, and as long as you guys pay me back with referrals, client testimonial, and a review. I don't know if I should say something like that, but
Well, see, here's the thing though, too. You're basically doing what we were just talking about. And this is a question for your broker. And that's something that we don't want to get into here. For me, if somebody came and said that to me, I would say that, why are you discounting yourself? Do you feel that you're not providing the right service? You need to basically go out there and stand your ground. If 5% is where it's at, and then 5% is where it's at, we're a full service brokerage, and this is what we do. The minute you start discounting and playing that game that everybody else does, then that means that your services, apparently you don't value the service that you bring. And I don't want anybody to ever think that, right? We go out there and we go above and beyond. So when you start playing the games like, well, I could do 4%. It's like, okay, well, now what you're doing is now it becomes a death spiral, right? Who's going to get the listing and lose the money first, right? I could do it for 4, I could do it for 3, and then what happens, right? So that's a question you got to have with your broker on that one. All right. I don't want to get in the middle of that or that, but that's just my thoughts if somebody had said that to me. But
well, another thing you run into with that too is, if you do that with that person, maybe you've successfully navigated that transaction, but when they do send you a referral, do you think there's any chance that they're not going to mention that you haggled over your commission? And so now the next person knows that the starting bid is 4, and they're going to see what they can do, et cetera. It's just like Darren's saying, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The word's going to get out that you'll do it for whatever you can get.
Right. Absolutely.
Thank God I didn't say that.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is that if I heard that, if somebody told me that they had somebody that came in and they were immediately ready to go from 5 to 4, I would say, okay, that's terrific. So you basically push back a little and they immediately drop their commission. So how well do you think they're going to be negotiating the largest asset that you own when it comes to a buyer offer coming in? Yeah.
I had a real estate teacher at school say that, look, 5% or whatever it is, 5 or 6% is only part of the game. I mean, the other realtor, the listing broker gets half. And the biggest thing that he sent home with me was that, I'm worth it. We're worth it. And if you don't want to, if you don't think we're worth it, then you can walk away. I just found it really interesting that people are, the feds are trying to cut it down. Zillow, everyone's trying to cut into real estate commissions these days. But I found that, his attitude was excellent. He's worth it, and that's the bottom line. And then of course there's family and friends that you can, give him discounts. But other than that, I think you got to stand your ground.
Yeah, and this goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning, right? It said all of us here should have confidence in ourselves. Don't go like basically, accepting everything and anything just to get business. All right. We are professionals, licensed professionals, right? Accountants, lawyers, all those doctors, all licensed professionals, just like us, right? We need to go out and understand that we're real estate consultants. We're solution providers. We're specialists. All right. I always tell people that when we do our script practice and role play, don't say that you're a real estate agent, say you're a real estate specialist. And that's what you are. And don't go out there and sell yourself short just for the sake of getting business. You're going to lose in the long run. You won't be able to build that real estate life because you're basically sacrificing yourself for business. And again, it's going to be a death spiral and you will never be able to get out of that cycle. Have faith in yourself, have confidence, right? Just remember too, everybody here, you're already light years ahead of even the people that you probably went to class to that went to other firms, because other firms don't have this training either, right? So while they're struggling and they're probably going to be sacrificing themselves, you guys will be able to stand your ground, have confidence, knowing, okay, that you have all the tools necessary to be successful. Make sense?
Yes.
Good. All right. So that's good. Half people are responding, the other half are asleep. So that's awesome. This is probably a good chance to take a break. All right. So it's 10:02. Let's take a quick 5-minute break in case anybody's got a refresh with the caffeine or stuff like that. So we'll come back at 10:07 and we'll pick it up from there. Sound good? Work for everybody?
Yes.
All right, cool. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Back here at 10:07. All right, everybody good? Everybody refreshed? Back at it? All right. Excellent. Very good. So we are actually going to get back into it. We're going to be working in our workbook. So if you go to page 5 in your workbook, we're going to be working off of that exhibit that's in there. All right. Anybody have any questions or anything up to this point on anything we covered? No, everything good? All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to break down, okay, our goals into things that are measurable, things that we can actually start to see. So we can use all of this to put towards our big life goal that we have out there. All right. We're going to basically figure out how many transactions we're going to need, all right, in order for us to meet our goal. And this is something that you can do on a regular basis. You can do this every year. And in fact, we're going to show you how to do it in Command so that you have everything that you need to every year put your goals in and be able to track that on a basically a daily basis if you need to. All right. So let's talk about getting real about getting our goals here. Now, for those of you that know this, okay, you can put the information in there. For those of you that don't know this, all right, then I would say talk to your TL or your ATL and get these numbers after we're done here. And that way that can actually give you a really good idea of what it is that you're going to need. So what we want to do is we want to take a look at, okay, what is the average sales price for the homes in our area? All right. Now, you may or may not know that. If you do, that's great. Plug that number in. If not, use the numbers that are on here just as a generality here, as a representation, and then get the information from your ATL or TL or your broker or your productivity coach if you have one. Okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to start to break down what our production goals should be in order for us to hit our goals. All right. So average sales price, like they show here, $300,000. Now, underneath that, we want to come up with our average gross commission income. And again, if you know this, fine. If you don't, follow along. And then I would say ask this of anybody in your market center to see if you can get an idea. Now, average gross commission income. That's basically taking the sale price times the commission as it's listed on your MLS. All right, that's all it is. It's the gross commission income. Before anything else is taken out, that's what we use. Okay. So we've got our two numbers here. So what you want to do is follow along where it says under your market, the average sales price and the average commission, the GCI. If you know your numbers, great. If not, then drop these numbers in just as an example. Okay. We're going to follow along. We're going to go slide by slide here. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to go in and we want to talk about, okay, the market center company dollar. All right. So there's a split. Maybe it's 70-30, maybe it's 80-20, all right? But the percentage that goes to the market center, all right, we want to drop that in there on the next line where it says market center company dollar, the GCI times X percent. Now, everybody also has a cap in their market center, right? And that's the amount that once you've hit that with the accumulation of your closings, right, you don't have to pay that for the rest of the year. You capped at that point. So if you know the dollar amount for your cap, just put that in there as well. Now, what they put in here for this 27,000, this is actually the cap amount. So if you know that cap amount, you can drop that in there. For us in our market center, the market center cap is 24,000. Right here, they're using 27,000. Now, underneath that, we've got the franchise royalty. Okay, this is the right to use the Keller Williams name and logo for everything. All right, and that's typically 6%, and that gets capped at 3,000. So that's pretty much standard. That's why they have that in here. All right, the royalty is 6% up to 3,000. So that's why we drop that in. So when you're taking a look at your market center fees, this is where you're putting the next line of information. And then you just want to total that up. So whatever numbers you have, if you're using this, obviously it ends up being 30,000. If you have your own numbers, then just add those up and put them in there. All right.
What about those of us that are on a team that pay a team?
Okay. Yeah. Do you know your team cap?
Oh, the team cap. Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
I do. Team cap.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep. Then you want to use that. If you're part of a team, then put your team cap in there. Absolutely. Good question. Very good question. All right.
Okay.
Now we're going to start to break this down a little bit more. So when you say the bottom half of your page right here, we're going to put these numbers to use. All right. So in line A, your net income goal. Right now, some of us may be 100,000, maybe it's something different. I don't know, whatever that is, just drop that number in there. Right. So this is what you want to hit. Now, obviously this amount, okay, probably going to be different than what you had in the exhibit that we did a couple pages ago. That one is your ultimate big goal that you have here. This is just your income goal. And over time, this is going to help you to achieve that big life goal that you had a couple slides earlier, but this is going to be your net income goal. Now, line B is going to be the total that we just calculated on the previous page. So where it says your market center fees, that line right there, the 30,000, that goes into this. Now, business expenses, you see it right here, okay? $50,000. Business expenses really at this point should be as minimal as possible because we're just starting off. We don't have a lot there. So what you want to do is you want to start to estimate what it is that you pay for expenses to be in real estate and come up with a number. That could be 5,000, 7,000, maybe 10,000, all right? But we want to keep our expenses minimal as possible. So this one says 50,000. I would keep it lower than that, all right? Really right now, there's plenty of ways to lead generate and go out there and get business without spending any money. Maybe Facebook ads would probably be the only thing. But again, when you get listings, maybe there's a few expenses that you want to put in there, that sort of thing. But I wouldn't keep this as high as it has on here because we're starting off and we want to build up our business before we get to that point. So in line D, we're just going to add A, B, and C together. So now we're taking our net income, we're adding back the company dollar and the royalties, and we're adding back our expenses. So we're basically reverse engineering the overall amount that we need to earn, right? So line D is our gross commission income. That's basically everything. So if we take out our royalty and the company dollar and the business expenses, we're going to be left with 100,000. So we have to basically earn, in this example, 180,000 in order for us to net 100,000. Now, the very first exhibit that we had the average GCI, the average commission, right? That was 9,000. We're going to put that number in here. And all we need to do is divide line D by line E, and that's going to tell us approximately what our transaction goal should be. So now we're starting to build our vision of what real estate is going to be. We're putting our goals in place. We're coming up with numbers so we have clarity. Clarity is key. Clarity is key. Right now we know what we need to shoot for, where we need to go, all of that, right? So you see here where it says 20 transactions for the year in order for us to basically gross 180, net 100,000. Does that make sense? Everybody good with that? Anybody want to share their numbers of what their transaction goal would be for the year?
Mine's 32.
What was that? I'm sorry, Juliet.
32.
32?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Here's the thing. If you actually say your goal out loud, all right, and it sounds really just astronomical to you, then that's good. Remember we talked about earlier in some of those slides where limiting beliefs were getting in the way? If you put in here and you put in 3, okay, well, you know, maybe you're not challenging yourself. Say, well, I just want to be realistic. You don't want to be realistic. Stop with that. Because is that realistic? What if you do 8 transactions? Then your idea of realistic is completely twisted at this point, right? Okay, so put in there whatever that ends up being. That's what it is. And again, shooting for 100,000. If you earn 75 to 80, is that really such a bad thing? No, it's momentum. It's a start. It's progress. That's what you want, right? So if that number is 10, 15, 20, 37, 32, 51, whatever it is, that's your number. So what? And if somebody's telling you that you're wrong, find somebody different to talk to, plain and simple, all right? That good? Everybody good with that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, excellent. All right, so how many of you know that you could actually set goals in command? Anybody aware of that? Has anybody actually set their goals in command? No, I'm actually going to show everybody how to do this, but is there anybody that's kind of jumped the gun and set their goals?
Yeah, I have.
You have? Okay.
Yeah.
How was it? Was it pretty easy for you?
It's confusing. I'm not really exactly sure what the numbers are, and to me, it seems low, but.
But we want to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So we're
Yeah,
gonna,
when you said it seemed astronomical, it should be, that's about right. And I said, okay, I'm doing something wrong.
well, that's your idea of astronomical here. So that's fine. No worries. All right. So I'm gonna actually share my screen with Command. All right. Everybody see the screen? Okay. So I want everybody to do this at some point in the next day or two so that you actually have your goals in here and everything is set where it needs to be. But when we go into Command, this is the home screen. We want to go click on the red KW and you got all the applets that are right here. We're going to go under reports. Okay. When we are in reports, you're going to see that up top, they've got the nice little item up here for goals. Click on that. And you're going to see that there is a pipeline in here. Pipeline of activity. And this is basically pipeline of essentially everything that we do for all of our clients and our appointments in our business. We start off with leads. Once we talk to them, they become a contact. We set an appointment, we keep the appointment, get them to sign an agreement, goes under contract, and then it closes. So this is the pipeline, right? We're going to actually fill this information in so that we actually have something that's going to track what we put in as our opportunity and is going to match it against what our goals are. So we can see every single day how we're doing in relation to our goals. So what I want to do is I want to go under goal setting, click on that, and it's going to take me to this screen right here. Either review your goals or set your goals. Now, for all of us, we're going to be setting our goals, right? Except for Joelle, but again, you know, you can review your goals, you can go in, you can set these goals as many times as you want, all right? But when we click on get started, when you go in here, your screen is going to be blank. But we're going to go in, we're going to put in the necessary information. And a lot of it is derived from those worksheets that the worksheet that we just filled out here, right? So on the right-hand side where it says set goals, all right, you're going to say for this year, for 2022, all right? And it's going to say, what's your 2022 annual profit goal? Now, for any of these boxes, if you see a little I next to it, all you got to do is hover over it. It's going to tell you exactly what it is that is all about. So for this one, our annual profit goal, this is basically the net income that we want to earn. Now, in the previous example, we used 100,000. So if I put in 100,000, all right, that's my goal, my annual profit goal. And again, there's no right or wrong answer here. This is your goal. This is specific to you, right? Don't let anybody tell you differently one way or another. So that's what we're going to shoot for, 100,000, okay? Now, expenses and cost of sales, all right? We're going to do this as a fixed amount. Now, annual operating expenses, the difference between expenses and cost of sales. Does anybody know what the difference is between expenses and cost of sales? Anybody want to take a shot at that? Okay, no worries. Under expenses, okay, if you hover over it, we pay business expenses every year. Whether or not we bring in any transactions, we're going to pay business expenses, meaning that our board membership, our MLS fees, the monthly fee that we pay to the market center, all right, all of this adds up. And these are the things that, hey, whether or not I'm closing business or I am closing business, I still have to pay these things, recurring things that come up. So in this instance, you want to give an estimate of what it is that you're probably going to pay per year, all right, based on, okay, maybe what you know now, just throw some sort of estimate in there. You can talk to some folks who are on your market center and they might give you an idea of typically what, you know, what they pay per year and something like this. But for us, we want to keep it as low as possible. I'd say probably 5,000, probably a good number, right? Maybe 7,000 if you want to do that, but something along those lines, because we want to make sure that we're keeping that as low as possible. If we don't have revenue coming in, we're not closing business, we want to keep our expenses as low as possible. Cost of sales, on the other hand, cost of sales are things that we only pay when we have a closing. So what are the things that we would pay or split if we had a closing?
Other agents' fee.
Other agents' fee. Well, this is just our side of the transaction. So when you have a closing, that's already been split and it's given to them. Okay, if you're a listing agent. What if you're a buyer's agent? Okay. What typically comes out of our commission check when we have a closing? Only when we have a closing.
Broker's fee.
broker's fee, the split with a market center, right? We just talked about that. And what's the other thing? The second section right here. Market center fee, and then what else?
Yep. Royalty.
Royalty fee, right? And that was, in that example, that was 30,000, right? For us, it's 27, but in this example, let's stick with that. It's 30,000, okay? 30,000. That's essentially when we have a closing, they'll take out the market center split, they'll take out for the royalty, and then we get what's left over. So again, we're backing into numbers. We're taking into account, we know approximately what our expenses are going to be. We have a really good idea of our cost of sales, right? So now we can back into the number that we're going to come up with here. Now, this is going to give us a production number and a financial number, okay? Again, in keeping in line with us getting more clarity on what it is that we need to shoot for, that's what this is all about. Now, the business makeup. Maybe you want to focus more on listings. Maybe you want to focus more on buyers. If you don't know, just keep it 50-50, right? We want it to add up to 100. So we want an equal amount of listings and buyers. And then the average commission per unit. Again, we're going back to the first part that we did, okay? First section right here, second line, average commission. In that example, it was $9,000, which we have here. Don't worry about leases for right now, okay? Leases are gonna distort the number. We want to focus on essentially buyers and sellers right now, okay? Everybody good with this? What questions do we have here?
So marketing, so if you're a listing agent, sorry, I'm thinking that marketing is really of a fixed amount because it's associated with that listing and it likely is going to close, but you're going to drop it into expenses.
Yeah, there's been debate over that. You only pay the marketing expenses if you have a listing, but what if that doesn't close? So I would say put that under expenses, business expenses. So you're anticipating how much you're going to spend on marketing with every listing that you have, right? Cost of sales really comes down to, okay, split with the market center, the royalty fee, and then maybe if there's a fee that you pay per transaction for your back office or something like that,
Okay.
Good question. Very good. All right, so once we have this in place, you'll see that as I put in these numbers, okay, all of this was calculating as I did this. So this is telling me that I need to earn 137,000 gross commission in order for me to net 100,000, with my cost of sales being 30 and my operating expenses or business expenses 7, right? Eric, you got a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if you could give maybe your own interpretation of what number you would feel is reasonable if you went the percentage of GCI route as opposed to fixed amounts.
Okay. One of the things that you're going to learn is you're going to learn down the road as you build up your business, there's going to be the 40-30-30 rule, meaning I want to earn 40% net income. I want to target 30% for expenses and 30% for cost of sales. Now, that's all good and well, unless you're a new agent. Spending 30% of your business on expenses right off the bat is a little high. So in this instance right here, the way that this is working is that the annual profit is around 73%, cost of sales is 22%, and the operating expenses is 5%. I say if your operating expenses are between 5 and 10%, it's probably good. But again, a lot of this also comes down to the principle of the red light, green light. So when you read MREA of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, you want to spend money as long as you have it. If you don't have the money, you don't want to spend it. So you want to be cost conscious when you're putting your expenses together. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, sure. Absolutely. So as you get bigger and you grow your business, you're going to target the 40-30-30, okay, as your rule of thumb. However, in starting up, this expenses are going to be as low as possible. Okay. All right, so we click on next. And now what we got is we got this nice little funnel, upside down triangle, whatever you want to call it. It's a funnel. And this is essentially the process that we saw in that pipeline earlier. All right. We go from leads to contacts to appointments set, kept, agreements, all the way down. Now you're going to see that starting off with leads, the way that this works is it's a probability of people that we talk to, how long they're going to stay throughout the process. All right. So for leads, this says that 5% of the leads that I talk to are going to become contacts. Put it in round numbers. If I talk to 100 people, or if I reach out to 100 people, I'm going to talk to 5 of them. Those 5 people are going to become contacts. Okay. Of the contacts that I talked to, about 5% of them are going to want to set an appointment with me. All right. So as I'm going down the funnel, that's what these probability conversion rates are. Of the 5% of contacts that I'm talking to and having conversations with, they're 5%, I should say, are going to set an appointment. Now you'll see here that the number goes from 5% to 75%. So 75% of the appointments that I set are going to be kept. Because the further along the process or the further down the funnel they go, okay, the more committed they are to going to the end. That's why this is a numbers game. We have to talk to as many people as possible, have as many conversations as possible with everyone that's out there. And those days that you take off or those weeks that you take off being like, yeah, I'm not going to do it. You're basically putting a nice gap in your calendar, in your business down the road. That's why it's essential. You're standing in line at the grocery store, have conversations with people around you, right? You know, you happen to be at a party. Somebody says, how's the real estate market? Say, it depends. You a buyer or a seller? Start the conversation, start talking to them, get things going, right? So the more leads that you talk to, more people become contacts. The more contacts you talk to, the more appointments you set. Now, the appointments that you set, about 3/4 of them will actually keep their appointment. Right? You're going to find that you're going to talk to people. They're going to be like, yeah, let's meet next Tuesday. And then they ghost you, right? It happens. Not everybody's going to do that, but 75% of them will keep their appointment. Now, depending on how good you are in having that meeting with them, that appointment, and getting them to sign the agreement, about 3/4 of them will actually sign an agreement. About 3/4 will go under contract, and about 3/4 of those will actually close. Right. So now what we're doing is we're taking these conversion rates, as they call it. Okay. Your conversion rate go from a lead to a contact, from a contact to setting an appointment, you know, so on and so forth, all the way down. We're going to use these. All right. If you have these in here, stay with what's here. What's going to happen over time is you put more and more business into command. It's going to calculate what your conversion rates are. So again, we can now go back and reverse engineer saying like, okay, well, if I need to have 2 closings this month, how many people do I need to talk to right at the top in order for me to eventually get those 2 closings? That's going to help you to determine what you have to do for business. Okay. So these are our conversion rates. It's a funnel, it's a pipeline, whatever you want to call it. It's going to help us to understand what we need to do for activities in order for us to get to that production goal. Okay. Does this make sense?
Yes.
What do we have for questions on this? Anybody? Don't be afraid to ask questions. This is for your benefit. So if you're thinking it, then somebody else is too.
I gotta say that by looking at this,
Yep.
Seeing that 5%, it's like, oh God, that's daunting. So
Yep.
that was the first thing I thought was, yep, it's a numbers game. And I apologize to you guys out there who heard this story the first day on the other recording, but it takes me back to when I sold MCI back in 1836, that I was always trying to beat this one woman who was always number one, and she was making me nuts. And I monitored her to see what she was doing, and she did not take any objections. And again, this is not real estate. This is long distance phone service, but they'd say, no, I'm not interested. Okay, thank you. Have a nice day. Click next. Whereas I would spend 5 minutes trying to get my foot in the door and talk to them why they're not interested. What are you not interested in? No, don't waste your time. The more you talk to people, the better your percentages are going to be. It's just all numbers.
Yep, absolutely. And that's a great point. Thank you, Lisa. That's good. So, and here's the thing too, is when you're talking to people, we talk about the 3, words to start the conversation. How are you, right? If you're talking to somebody and their dog just passed away for one reason or another, it's probably not a good time to bring up real estate. But if you're talking to them and you're saying, oh, how are things going? It's like, oh, great. Well, the last of my 3 kids just about to graduate from college. It's like, oh, okay, great. So what's your real estate future look like? Have you thought about what the next steps are? It's like, yeah, well, we're thinking about maybe, we're getting close to retirement. So maybe moving to South Carolina. Boom. They just opened up the door for you. Take advantage of that. That contact now just became an appointment set. It's like, something, that's exactly why we need to get together. Let's chat about that and just talk about the options. That's all. Simple discussion. Right. So yes, it is a numbers game, and these numbers may look daunting, which we're going to show in a minute to Lisa's point. However, okay, these numbers can only get better, and they get better with you taking action. Maybe it doesn't take 100 people to get 5 leads. Maybe you can do it with 40. Okay. Maybe you could do it with 20. And maybe you can go to the point. Lisa, you got a question? Okay, sorry. So maybe you get really good at going to appointments. So now 90% of the appointments that you go on, okay, they keep, and 90% of those people actually sign an agreement, right? I mean, you're going to get better and better at this the more times you do it, right? It's just natural. It's like riding a bike, right? We didn't wake up one day and be like, yeah, I'm going to ride a bike. No big deal. When we were a kid. No, we actually had to practice the training wheels, do all this stuff. Same thing here.
I just wanted to say something. I found it easier too to just like, because I was trying to use scripts at first to get appointments and stuff, and I felt that it wasn't working out. So I just tried talking to owners naturally, and when you have natural conversations, I feel like it's more effective, and they feel, I don't know, they feel more. It's like building rapport and stuff like that. So I feel like they feel more confident with
Mike,
you.
I'm going to challenge you on that one because I am a firm believer in scripts. I'll tell you right now, I worked at another company. It rhymes with Century 21, and I didn't believe in scripts, and I struggled. It was, you try to wing it, it's tough. I know where you're coming from and what you're saying, but just hear me out on this one. Coming to KW and actually studying the scripts and getting into forming script groups and having that practice, that has changed everything and anything, not just for me, but for the folks that are here. I would say that the scripts are essential. When you're reading them, it doesn't do you any good though. What you have to do is you have to understand them and absorb them and make them your own so that it sounds natural and it sounds genuine, because what the scripts do is they help you to be efficient and succinct in what you're doing. You're able to handle objections and you're able to basically ask the questions and take people down the path. Now, when you go out and if you're just winging it, it can go one of either ways. Like, yeah, either you could have a conversation with them and the conversation lasts an hour and a half and you get nowhere, or it could be that they hang up on you because you don't know how to break through that barrier. But taking a little bit of what you said, making it natural and making it seem very genuine, you can do that with the scripts. So yes, if you're reading them word for word and you sound like Tommy Telemarketer, that's going to be a problem. But read them, understand, write in the margins in terms of what it is that they're trying to say, and then internalize it, make it your own, absorb it, and then you can actually make that conversational and still have it sound genuine. And you'll be able to listen to what they're saying and go from there. So just want to point that out there. All right. And if you don't have any script groups in your market center, talk to some agents around there and get things going. There's a big benefit to it. And you may fight that as much as you want. However, there's going to be, tremendous benefits that you get out of there. All right. You're going to find that you're going to be able to hold conversations with everyone and anyone at that point. All right. All right. So we're good with this? All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go in and this is going to give us a summary of everything that we just put in here. Okay. And then we click on what's next. So now we want to go to the middle here where it says go view my goals. And we're going to go in here. And it's going to take us back to this first screen that we saw. Okay. So everything that we see that we just put in there is now going to be flowing through this pipeline. So you'll see based on the leads, the contacts, this funnel that we have is now a pipeline. All right. I just need to reach out to 19,244 leads this year, have conversations with 769 people in order for me to get the 16 closings that I'm going to need to get to where I want to go. All right. Now, Lisa had mentioned before that this was daunting. Does that seem daunting right now? Overwhelmed?
Yep.
Kind of a WTF or F this type moment, right? You kidding me, right? I got to do this? No way. Well, this is for the entire year, for what we have left of the year. Let me go through for this month. I'm going to break it down a little bit more. So now I've got 1,924 leads. Okay, still kind of a lot. I got to have 77 conversations. I got to set 5 appointments. I got to go on 4 of them, sign 3 agreements, and have 2 closings a month. Okay, yeah, that's better, but still, all right. How does that apply to me? Well, we're going to do this later on, but what I want everybody to do is I want you to take these monthly goals and I want you to take each of these numbers and divide them by 4. Why would we divide them by 4?
Quarters for the year.
Weekly.
Weekly. There's 4 weeks in a month, and we want to get a weekly number. So let's do this. Let's say here, if I take that 1928 here, all right, or 1924, divide it by 4. All right, that's 481 people I need to reach out to per week. All right. Now, if I had to have 77 conversations a month, I divide that by 4. That's about 20 conversations a week. So let's just stop right there for a minute. If I told you that this upcoming week, you had to have 20 conversations. Would that seem unreasonable? Let's take it a step further. Those 20 conversations, if we're working 5 days a week on real estate, so divide that by 5, that's 4 conversations a day. Is there anybody here that thinks that they could not have 4 conversations a day, 4 real estate conversations a day?
So wait, you took your leads and divided them by the month and then by 4?
Well, I took the leads here. This is the monthly number. So in order for us to hit this by the end of 2022, that means I need 1,924 leads this month.
Right.
But I'm going to take that number and divide it by 4 because I now, instead of a monthly number, I want a weekly number. So if we take that 1,924 divided by 4, that gets us to 481.
Right.
Now, let's say I've got 5 days during the week. I want to come up with a daily number. So I divide that by 5, and that means 96. 96 a day that I have to reach out to. That's not conversations. Those are just people I have to reach out to. Okay.
That's the part I missed.
Yeah. So I took it a step further with the contacts, and I said, ultimately, you know, it's saying now that if we talk to 100 people, or if we reach out to 100 people, we have to have 5 conversations. Same thing here. It said 96 people a day to have 4 conversations. Now, we don't really need to make 96 phone calls a day to have 4 conversations. Focus on the contacts, right? 4 conversations a day. And that closed unit, okay, that the closed units, we need 2 a month. That means 1 every other week. That's a paycheck every other week. It's a bi-weekly paycheck right there, right? How about the appointments kept, right? We need to have 1 appointment a week. If we're having 4 conversations a day, 20 conversations a week, do you think 1 of those would end up being an appointment? So if we take these monthly goals, we break it into weekly goals, and then we take it and look at it on a daily basis, it makes things a little bit more manageable, right? And does this also give us clarity in terms of what we should be doing? If I went to you and I said, okay, Joelle, Lisa, you know, Michael, go have 4 conversations a day. Let me know how you do at the end of the week.
So now can I ask you, because this is where I get lost in my conversations and getting it to conversion.
Yep.
So yesterday I talked to my, I don't even know what to call her, but she's the office. She's the head of the office. She's
Team leader?
Not my team leader, my office leader, I guess. I'm sorry, I don't know.
OP, operating principal?
Yes.
Okay.
So she and I were talking, and I said, you know, like my problem at the moment is conversion, like, and I told her, and she helped me out. She helped me through that. So now my problem here is when you're saying conversations, are you saying like converting them, like, or is it just like, for example, I had a few conversations with a colleague that I worked with. So I took the same thing that we talked about in the meeting yesterday, and I said we had, you know, someone I used to work with, and we caught up. And then I found out that her son got married, and whatever. I finally got her to where she would say, "Oh, my other son, you know, he might move to New Jersey. You know, I can give him your card." I'm like, "Great." So does that count as a conversation?
Absolutely.
Even though,
Absolutely. Okay. Because what are you doing? Here's the thing too. When you have these conversations, you're going to get better and better at finding out their real estate intention and their real estate timing. Right?
Yeah, because now she's an empty nester.
Okay, then that's great. So talk to you, say like, listen, so what does your real estate future look like?
Okay.
Right? So tell me, you know, have you thought about maybe, you know, now the kids are out of the house, you ever thought about maybe right sizing? Not downsizing, but right sizing, you know? Maybe the house, right? It's a great time to sell, right? This is where we come in with our professionalism, our basically our real estate specialty. We're the economist of choice, right? Okay.
Right.
Listen, there's never been a better time to sell right now. We have no idea how long it's going to go on for. So if you thought about, hey, you know something, tell you what, let me do a quick market analysis, equity analysis on your home, and let me come by, we'll just chat about it, and I'll talk to you about the process. How does that sound?
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now listen, you could talk to somebody and be like, yeah, I'm not moving. No, we're rock solid. We're going to stay here forever and ever and ever. Okay, great. Do you know of anybody else who might be, you know, looking to buy or sell? No? Okay, fine. Don't worry about it. If you do, keep me in mind. Or they may say, yeah, you know, as a matter of fact, my neighbor had mentioned that they get a job transfer and they're looking to go. Okay, great. So it's not just a one time, it's a follow-up as well too. We're going to keep following up with these people. Every once in a while, we'll call them and we'll just chat with them or text them or whatever it is. And we'll just find out if anything changed, because that person who said that they weren't going, maybe they get a job transfer. Maybe they got to move. Eric, you got a question there?
Yeah, I do. So I completely follow, the whole thought process. I mean, I get the math in general, but I fully feel like I understand the process from contacts on. But can you kind of flesh out what, 400 and X number leads look like in a week? I mean, what it is, where they are, that, I mean, can you kind of flesh that idea out? That's the one thing that isn't quite clicking.
Right. Well, basically leads are people that we haven't talked to yet. All right. So we don't know, what their real estate intention is. Now, these could be people that you meet at an open house. These could be people that are referred to you by cousins, brothers, uncles, sisters, something like that, right? So we're just saying that right now, we have to talk to a whole bunch of people in one way, shape, or form, people we know and people we don't know, in order for us to have a conversation, right? Now, if you're on a team, maybe that team provides you leads. Maybe it's you going through your database right now, okay? Don't get hung up on that number. I will say that that leads number, arbitrary number, it really is. I honestly don't think it's going to take you 100 people to reach out to have 5 conversations. I think the number's smaller, but for right now, we want to take the most conservative side of it. Don't get hung up on the whole lead side. What I want people to focus on is having those conversations. We actually have a top producer in our office, and she's here today. She has a goal every day. She got to have 8 conversations, and she is just killing it. She's been in business 2 years, but that's what she does. She has a target of 8 conversations. That's all.
Okay, it's good. It's good to hear you say don't get wrapped up in that number, because I'm looking at that and I was kind of interpreting that as like, you got to find some way to put 400 extra people in your pipeline every week, and I couldn't quite fathom how that's sustainable. And so
you're gonna learn as we go along the methods of prospecting and marketing, and that's where first thing that you want to do is you want to wrap up everybody that you know. Get that wall around them, talk to them, let them know that you are their real estate person of choice. Because honestly, if you make that phone call and they say, "Oh, Eric, I wish you'd called me last week. I just signed with so-and-so over at, Schmuck Realty. And I wish I'd talked to you because I would have signed with you. I didn't realize that." Okay, that's going to happen. All right. So we want to get out there and talk to them as fast as possible. We want to stay in front of them, because once we've built that wall around them, they're not going anywhere else. They're coming to us when it comes to real estate. Any questions, any issues, right? So make it easy. That's low hanging fruit. Like I said, half the battle's already won. They already know us. Now, once we've built that wall around them, we've reached out to them and we have a plan to follow up with them. And you're going to learn about all this as we go through. Okay. We reach out to them once, then we follow up with them on a regular basis. Okay. Then we got to go out and start adding people to this, because our database, maybe it's 100, 200, 250. If we stay like that and stagnant, yeah, we'll get business once in a while, but again, it's a numbers game. The more people we add to this, the more that we start to grow this, better off we're going to be. You're going to get to the point where your database is going to be running itself. More people you add to it to grow it and have these conversations. You could have like 500, 600 people and you'll have a steady amount of business. I got a guy that I was working with for a while in the coaching program, who does all his business from his database. He has 600, 700 people in his database, but he's got a solid 63, I think, that give him their business and referrals, repeat business, like repeat business and the referrals. That's all you need, really. But you got to build it up to that point to get there. And that's why we start off with everybody that we know. So don't get wrapped up in the leads number there. Again, that number is arbitrary. Just focus on the conversations, make that intentional. All right. Does that help?
yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. All right. And again, when you take that first step, you start having conversations, you're going to get more purposeful and more intentional with talking to them. So like Michael had talked before about, just winging it and having conversations, okay, which absolutely makes sense. The problem is that, again, you don't want to be on the phone talking to somebody for an hour and a half to catch up. All right. You want to basically, talk to them and be purposeful. You say, "Hey, listen, I don't want to take too much of your time, but really I'm just calling just to touch base. As you know, licensed with Keller Williams. I'm not sure what your real estate future holds, but if you're not looking to do anything, do you know of anybody who's looking to do anything?"
Is there any scripts you might be able to recommend? Because I've been having a hard time finding some, and I just can't find one that might.
Yep, absolutely. What I would do is folks in your market center, ask the folks in your market center, your PC, your TL, ATL, what scripts they have. Probably going to recommend a couple of things. They're going to recommend the bold script. So if you can take bold, you get some really good scripts in there. They may actually have their own script books. I would also say too, I don't know how many of you know Jeff Glover, Glover, but he is actually a master agent, out of Detroit. I saw him at family reunion, very first family reunion I went to, and this guy is a script master. He is excellent. And he stood up on stage and people threw out objections and he was just handling them like nothing. So he is like the king of scripts and objection handlers. Now he actually has a website. It's Glover U. U is in university. So Glover U. And he's actually got very succinct scripts that are out there for all of that. But I would say go to those two sources. Go to the folks that are in your office and go to Glover U. And he's got script books that are in there. And really, honestly, if you go on the internet and you search for FSBO scripts or expired scripts, they're all the same. There hasn't been much in the way of innovation when it comes to that. And people who say like, oh, I've got a new way of talking to expireds. Yeah, probably not. It's the same thing. You can just do a Google search on that too, right? But get comfortable with that, be able to have that conversation. Because here's the thing too, if you're at a listing appointment and the person on the other side says, well, hey, thanks for coming by today. But, so honestly, we were thinking about selling it on our own because the market's strong. If you haven't studied your FSBO scripts, what are you going to say? Okay, great. Yeah, let me know how that goes. Probably not. You want to dive into it. You want to find out. You want to handle that objection. So that's why it's good to actually have a good feel for those, understand and make them your own, right? Okay. I think Lisa put in here, we'll have months where we'd have more leads, so this number will average out. Yes. Okay. That's the thing, in the first half of the year, business is really good and it slows down a little bit towards the end of the summer and at the end of the year, but then you've got a pocket in the fall. So yeah, it's not going to be the same number every single month. And this is going to keep track of basically what business you've done and how much time is remaining in the year. So it's going to adjust it based on how much time is left. But for you, when you go out and you talk to people, you have these conversations, put them in here, record them. All right. Oh, that's right. The Ignite script book too. Lisa put in here, the Ignite script book. That's fantastic too. I completely spaced on that. Great point right there. We have the Spark and the Elemental script books that are there. And the Spark is good because it shows you how to introduce yourself to people, let them know that you're in real estate and even follow up with them again. So excellent point right there. Completely spaced on that. So thank you, Lisa. But yeah, the number is going to average out. But this gives you a good indication of what you should be targeting for. I would say that, just have conversations with people and look for the opportunity to get an appointment. You're going to get really good at being purposeful and intentional. Get the appointment, and when you're at the appointment, that's when good things happen. Okay. This makes sense. Everybody good with this part of it?
Yep.
Okay. How many people are not going to update their goals this weekend? Okay, good. So everybody will. So excellent. That's why I threw that question out there. Just seeing what everybody would say. So, all right, perfect. So let's get back to what we're doing here. All right, so let me actually reshare my screen. Where we're at. All right, so now doing the right activities. Okay, all these numbers don't mean anything if we don't take action, right? If you take a look at it, everybody wants the noun, but they don't want to do the verb. So the noun is the millionaire real estate agent, or the big bold business, or all of that stuff. Whatever success is, the noun at the very end there. Okay, but it's the actions that you do prior to that, the verbs, the steps that you take. That's what leads to where you want to be. So you got to do the verb before you can get to the noun. Everybody wants a noun. Nobody wants to do the verb. And taking actions, okay, are going to help you to reach your goal. You've got to take actions, and it's consistent action. That is the number one secret to success, is consistent action. And it doesn't matter if you're flubbing putting videos out there, or if you're door knocking and you feel like you're not getting anywhere. Keep track of everything that you do. All right. And you can actually see what's working and what's not working. We're going to be measuring that too. Because we know we've got tremendous clarity on our financial and production goals. We just have it right here. Right? We just have to take action on it right now. And this is where, you got to take messy action. I heard somebody say that once. You got to take messy action. That's what it's all about. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just do something, anything, right? Because your outcomes are driven by your actions. Plain and simple. Your outcomes are driven by your actions. If you don't want to do anything, that's great. You don't have to be in real estate. That's fine. But you put all this time and effort into it. You want to get something out of it, right? Okay, so let's break it in even further. All right. How many people have seen this or know what this 80-20 principle is? Anybody?
Yeah.
I have.
Yes, yes.
Anybody know who was named after?
Pareto?
Pareto. Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Joel, I don't know if that's what you were going to say. I had your hand up and then it came down again. But yeah, it's Pareto's principle. All right. And what he did was he was basically I don't know if you call him a scientist or something like that, more of an economist. And what he did was he actually went around and he said, all right, studied activities and actions people took, right? Now, he basically said that for those things that you focus on, okay, there's a lot of things that are unimportant, but if we focus on the 20% of things that actually give us actions, we're going to get 80% of our results. All right. So 80% of the solutions, the results, the answers that we get come from 20% of our actions. But do you think the 20% of the actions that we have are just random actions, or do you think that they are purposeful actions?
Purposeful.
Purposeful.
Right. We want to focus on the most important things. Again, coming back to the one thing, most important things each and every day that are going to give us the biggest results. All right. You see right here, it says the big rocks, right? Now, the story behind the big rocks is that there was actually a teacher who had a glass jar, okay? And he basically said, all right, you know, if I put these rocks in here and I fill it up with these big rocks in there, he goes, he asked the class, he goes, is the glass full? And they say, yeah, as a matter of fact, it is. It's like, okay. Took a bunch of little rocks and he put it in there. He said, all right, now the glass full. Yeah, it looks full. Okay, great. He took some gravel, threw gravel in there. Is it full? Yes. No, still room. Took sand, put it in there. Is it full? Everybody's still like, yeah, absolutely. It's full now. There's nothing that can be put in there. Took water, poured it in there. Now it's full. Okay. So in order for you to actually begin the process of getting things done, you want to focus on the biggest stuff that's going to have the most impact in the beginning. If he started with the water and the sand and the gravel or something like that in that order, would he have ever been able to put in the smaller stones or even the big rocks? No. In order for him to maximize what the volume that was in that glass, he had to start with the big rocks, put those in, and then everything else fell in line afterwards. We need to go out there and make sure that we're focusing on those activities that are going to give us the biggest results. So there's a difference between being busy and productive. Busy means, yeah, okay, you know, I went out and I bought some staples for my stapler and I made sure I got the right color pen and I organized my paper clips and everything looks really good on my desk. That's fantastic. Does anybody know that you're a real estate specialist because of that? Probably not. If I spend time reaching out, talking to people, okay, texting, calling, whatever it may be, right, face to face, all of that. I spend that time talking to them. Am I adding value to my business? Probably, right? Even if it doesn't lead me anywhere, I'm getting to practice it. Think about this right now. We talked about it earlier. The things that we're focusing on right now are training and lead gen, plain and simple. Until we get that appointment, we can't really take the next step. So it's lead gen, training, lead gen, training, lead gen, training. That's the whole thing. Take a look at it, the activities that you're doing. Is the activity that I'm taking right now, is that going to lead to revenue? Is that revenue generating? By me finishing off Netflix of those episodes that I saw there, is that really, adding business or adding value? No, probably not. But if I'm focusing on going door to door, or if I'm doing an open house, or if I'm doing things like that, that are actually increasing my ability to talk to people, yeah, definitely, right? Is this making sense, everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So now we're starting to piece this all together. We talked about what our grand vision, what our goal is, what we want to do with everything. Now we've come up with what our dollar and production numbers are going to be. So now we know, okay, this is what I need to do. And now we're talking about focus and intentionality. Where are we going to put our focus and our efforts in order for us to start to hit those goals, right? What is the 20% that we're going to put into place, the 20% that we're going to put into action right now, okay, that's going to help me to start to move down the path of achieving those goals? Think of it too. If you look at it and you're doing something, is this making me productive? Is this helping me to generate revenue? Is this helping me to grow my business? If it's not, it's busy work.
Yeah.
Sorry, was somebody say something?
It reminded me of something in the pivot shift workshop yesterday when Gary came on and he said, this stayed with me for some reason. He said, go to the movies every day. And it's like when you go to the movies, you put aside everything else that you're doing. You're not talking on your phone. You're not doing this. And that's one of the things that I needed to do was just go to the movies every day and focus on whatever I time block to do, just to do that thing that's gonna lead to getting more business.
Yep, absolutely. I will say, okay, honestly, that time blocking is probably the #1 principle that you should be incorporating and putting in place right now. Time blocking is the first activity we should do. We've got to mark off what it is that we need to set aside for time for real estate. And that is actually going to help us to say like, okay, you know, if I'm full-time, I'm putting 8 hours a day into my business. All right, then that means that, okay, I've got 3 hours here. Okay, maybe have lunch, and then I'm going to spend the afternoon, whatever that ends up being, I'm just going to be lead generating. That's going to help me to get into business, right? In the grand scheme of what we talked about here, you don't want to focus on the little stones and the minor stuff that goes in there. Focus on the big rocks. That's going to take away the majority of work that you need to do. It's going to be more efficient. You're going to see better results, right? Because honestly, if we take a look at this, right, and this is the quote that we were talking about earlier, right? I think that Lisa brought up, said, what's the one thing you can do right now that would make everything else easier or unnecessary? That comes straight from the one thing, Gary Keller's quote, right? We need to identify the 20% that we're going to put into our schedule that's going to help us to get to where we want to go. And you'll be able to identify it, you know. In the back of your mind, if you're questioning whether or not this is going to help you with your business, you're going to know that right away. All right. So what are some things that we can actually put into place here? What are some activities that we can do? What are some things that are right now are the 20%, are the big rocks, are the things that are really going to help us to propel our business right now?
Having those conversations.
Yep, having those conversations. Specifically, how are we having those conversations? What are we doing?
Keeping our database full and current.
What else?
Not being a secret agent, telling everybody.
Secret agent. That's the worst thing in the world, right? You should be proud of what you've accomplished. We should be proud. We should be going out there and telling everybody how we do this, right? Let them know we're their local economist of choice. What else?
I find that I'm held up by calls, by not wanting to make the calls. So I figure if I just do it, it's, you know, make calls that I haven't made in so long. I feel like it's going to seem obvious and opportunistic, but I think once I dive in, it'll obviously become that much easier. I just have to do it.
First time we do anything is the most difficult thing in the world, isn't it? Right?
Yep.
Second time, a little bit easier. Third time, fourth time. I mean, I tell you, I know people who've been in this business for a long time, and they always say that first phone call of the day is the worst one, or the first text, or the first, whatever it is, first message. After that, though, you get right into a rhythm.
And you have to show your personality too. I mean, I don't know about anybody here, but I use comedy, and especially now because people know that the real estate market is insane. So when it comes up, I like to say, yeah, it is crazy, and especially a great time to be a seller. Know anybody who wants to sell their house in the next 30, 40 minutes? Like somebody's, the guy on the first day of Ignite said that. And I thought that was hilarious, and it makes them laugh. And then they're like, that puts them at ease. And they're like, you know what? Yeah, I do know somebody who was talking.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are good. That's a great line there. That's really good. I like that. I haven't heard that. So that's excellent. Stuff like that. Absolutely. You know, listen, make it enjoyable. There's something that you got to do. Make it enjoyable. Have pleasant conversations with people. And that's why we start off with the people we know. Make it so much easier. They're great conversations to have. right? Study the scripts, get into script practicing. If you've got, people in your office who want to do script practicing, then join in, right? Sit there and listen, absorb it, take it all in. We do it every single day. We do it 2 nights a week. So we're there for people to, to practice and do stuff. And that's where you're going to basically learn your skill set. And that's where you're going to get better, because it's all agents that know the scripts. And it may seem a bit of a challenge. It may seem intimidating, but then the minute that you start talking to other folks that are out there who aren't in real estate, you understand that, sheesh, this is easy. This is very easy.
Hey, Darren, I just wanted to throw something out there that may be helpful to some of the people that I've heard. I know that that not everybody looks forward to a 2, 3, 4 hour block of making conversations that they have varying degrees of kind of anxiousness about. I sat in on a webinar, and I can't remember the coach's name, but he said his philosophy, and he wasn't necessarily speaking to strictly new agents, so kind of take it with a grain of salt, but his philosophy was, work 4 hours a day. He says, I work from home, I've got my kids running all over the place, my wife is here, she might need my help or this or whatever, but 40 minutes out of every hour, I shut the door, and my family knows that for those 40 minutes, I am not here. I am not dad, I am not husband, I am working and am not to be interrupted. But then 20 minutes for every hour, now I can come out and I can, I can play games with my kids. I can help prepare dinner. I can do whatever I need to do. But his philosophy was just that if you do that for X number of hours a day, those 40 minutes will end up being, more productivity than most people have all day anyway. And so, and it's much easier to tune out the rest of the world, or as the one person said earlier, go to the movies for 40 minutes than it is for 4 hours. So just put it into blocks. And so anyway, so I that kind of always stuck with me, and I thought that might be something that might be beneficial for
yeah. And that's a great point. That's really good. And a lot of that comes down to essentially time blocking and sticking to your calendar and being diligent and disciplined in terms of what you have to do. And you could measure it any number of ways. You could say all right, I'm going to lead gen for 4 hours, and I'm going to take 40-minute intervals with 20-minute breaks, whatever it may be. I've heard there's the Pomodoro method, where you go 25 minutes and a 5-minute break, stuff like that. The other thing that I've heard that works quite well is essentially people saying go for no, right? There's a book out there about that, where you basically calculate how many no's you get. Don't worry about the yeses you get, calculate how many no's you get, and have a target for the number of no's. Things like that. I teach people to say, all right, I want 1 appointment a day. So if that takes me an hour, it takes me 3 hours, whatever it is, I'm going to shoot for 1 appointment a day. And if I get one in the first half hour, I'm going to keep going. Maybe I can get 2 a day, 3 a day, stuff like that. So everybody's going to have their own measurement, their own target that they can shoot for. All right, so top of the hour, I have 11:05 here. Let's take a quick 5-minute break, get everybody a little caffeine or whatever it is you need to, and then we'll come back at 11:10. All right, sound good? Great. Thank you, everybody.
Darren, I'm going to meet with my coach, so I'm going to say goodbye and have a nice weekend.
All right, thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye. All right, everybody good? Everybody had a chance to do what they need to do here? So we're going to continue on with the presentation. All right, so now we're going to revisit the actions that successful agents do every day between growing their business and running their business. And if you take a look at the first one on growing your business, lead generation for buyers and sellers, right? Here it is. That's the number one thing, growing your business. And honestly, this has to be a daily occurrence. Sometimes what happens is you might get busy with working with buyers, working with sellers, and all of a sudden it just seems like everything is very hectic and out of place, right? And you forget to lead generate. The last thing that we want to do is we want to work like a typewriter. I'm not sure how many of you are old like me that know what a typewriter is, but essentially it's going from the beginning to the end and then starting over again with everything that we do. Okay, we want to have a continuous pipeline of activity. So while we're actually lead generating, we've got people that we're going on appointments with. We've got a group of people that we have agreements that we're maybe looking for. We're getting their house ready for a listing, and we've got a regular set of closings. So at every point along that pipeline, we've got a regular amount of business, because we know it takes anywhere from 45 to 60 to 90 days for things to happen. So that's a tremendous lead up time for anything that we want to do in our business. And if we don't start that process now and keep that water flowing through the pipeline on a consistent basis with everything we do, we're going to have gaps. We're going to have those air bubbles in the pipe, and that's going to stop us from having the consistent business we want and achieving our goals. So it's something we have to do day in and day out. All right. So how does this apply to us and what we do here at Keller Williams? All right. So if you take a look at the handout that you have, all right, on page 7, you're going to have something that's called a 411. Anybody know what the 411 stands for? If not, take a guess. I officially put everybody to sleep. All right. So 411, right? 411, this is basically going to be your activity sheet. This is going to help you to guide you through the process of hitting your goals, right? If we don't have it written down, then it's going to be hard for us to track. This is the way that we track our activities to reach our goals. Now, 411 is a little bit in reverse, okay? What it is it's our 4 weekly goals to our 1 monthly goal to our 1 annual goal, all right? So it works in reverse. This allows us to keep track of what we're doing. And this is going to give us an assessment so that we can take a look at this every single week, and we can find out if what we're doing is working and if we're getting closer to our goals. All right. So when we look at our 411, we're keeping track of our big rocks. Those are the activities, the 20% that's going to get us to 80% of the results. And the way that we look at this is we actually pretty much take everything that we've talked about today, and we're going to put it on this sheet. All right. Now, we had that first big goal that we're talking about there, right? Ultimately, what we want to do, all those different facets that we wanted to help, the causes and the people with the dollar amounts, right? So we've got that big idea right there. Then what we did is we put our goals together through command, and we've got our production and our financial goals, okay? And what we're doing is we're basically getting an understanding of the things that we need to do. Now we want to identify the 20% of the actions that are going to lead to the 80% of the results that we need. So in this worksheet right here, all right, we're going to start off, and we're going to do this every single month. Now, our annual goals, what we're going to do is we're going to revisit that pipeline that we saw in command. This is where our annual goals go. We had, the first thing that we had there was in that pipeline, annual numbers. And it showed us how many leads, contacts, appointments, all the way through that we needed to have. Now, that's also going to include our financial goal. So if we wanted to make 100,000, we want to put that in here. So here's where we're going to put our numbers. Now, I said before that leads are arbitrary. Don't worry about that. Put in the numbers that are essential. Number 1, contacts. How many contacts do I have to have this year? How many appointments, right? How many agreements? How many closings? If you want to keep it simple, keep it high level. And then 100,000, that's what I want to make, okay? That's my annual goal. And if you want, put in your big life goal that we had in there, the financial amount. You put that in the corner somewhere. We're going to talk about that in a second. Now for the monthly goal, okay, right now we're in March. So for the month of March, what do those monthly numbers look like? Remember, we just switched that on the pipeline. We hit the drop down, we switch it from this year to this month, put the monthly goals in there. And again, keep it high level. Just focus on the things that are really in our control. So contacts, conversations, appointments, agreements, closings. That's how you want to do it. And again, put in what the monthly goal, monthly financial goal is, right? Keep that in here. So what we're doing is we're basically taking like, okay, I see the big picture. I see the picture of the month that I'm in. Now we're going to work on our weekly goals. Now the weekly goals, these are things that we revisit each and every week. We're not going to go in and fill out the entire month. We're going to go in and we're only worried about the week that we're in right now. Again, more of the focus on where we are right now, being present where we are. So we're in, what's week 2? Okay, we're going to be starting up, let's say, what is that, week 3 next week? No, I'm sorry, this is week 1, week 2. It depends on where we're at. So let's say that this is week 2. What I'm going to do is in week 2, in that column, okay, we're going to skip week 1. We're now in week 2. I'm going to put in there what those weekly numbers are. Same thing we did for the annual, monthly. Now we've got a weekly number. However, what I'm going to put in there as well are the actions I'm going to take to get me to that. What are the things that I'm going to do? What is the 20% that I'm going to do to get me to those goals? If it says that I have to have 19 or 20 conversations this week, okay, great. How am I going to do that? Okay, Monday, I'm going to text 10 people. Tuesday, I'm going to text, maybe 5 people, and I'm going to call 5 for sale by owners. Wednesday, I'm going to, whatever it is, okay? Or you can say like, okay, I got to talk to 20 people this week, then I'm going to hop on the phone, or I'm going to go on Facebook Messenger, and I'm going to reach out to as many people as I can until I hit that number. Now, obviously, we're not going to have the appointments or the agreements or the closings yet. Those are lagging indicators. Remember, it's like water flowing through a pipe. Once we do our part to have those conversations, the appointments just start to magically show up. It's amazing how that works, right? Take the activity, you see the results. Once you have the appointments, you get the agreements. Then the agreements lead to closings. It's just a continuous stream of activity. But we're now starting to put out there what it is that we need to do in order for us to hit our goals. So we've got our numbers in there. We've got our weekly plan of what we're going to do. We're going to list 3, 4, maybe 5 different things that we're going to do. These are the activities, the high priority activities, the 20% that are going to get us the results. Nowhere on here does it say go out and buy the yellow highlighter because I need that in order for me to do my training. That's not going to lead us to where we want to go, right? And finishing off season 4 of Cobra Kai is not going to help us to get to where we want to go. We want to put the things that are essential, the activities that are really going to get us where we need to go. So we're going to put that in the week that we're in. And we're not going to worry about the next week, week 3 or week 4 just yet. We're going to get to the end of the week that we're in, and we're going to evaluate it. Did I do everything that I said I was going to do? If I did, fantastic. Probably going to do the same thing next week. If I didn't, then maybe it comes down to one of 2 things. Either it's a matter of the activity or it's the skill set associated with the activity. If I'm not doing the right activity, okay, or I'm not doing enough of it, that's going to stand out. If I stand in front of a store with a nice big sign that says, use me, I'm a realtor, and I'm not getting anything from it, it's probably because it's not the right activity. If I said that, yeah, I'm going to call expireds, and I called 2 expireds this week, probably not enough of that activity, all right? So sometimes it may be the activity. The other times it may be the skill set. If I'm calling 100 expireds and I'm not getting anywhere, then okay, let's take a step back. Do we understand the scripts? Are we really confident in what we're doing? If that's the case, then okay, let's see maybe how the conversation goes to get to the conversion, right? We'll sit in, we'll see how that goes. All right, so it's either the activity or the skill set, but we're going to evaluate what we're doing, see if we hit our goals. The way to look at it this way is if we just plow right in and we're just doing things day in and day out, we're not measuring it. We could be 5 months into this process and realize that, using the analogy of Waze, if I wanted to drive to California and I wasn't following Waze, I ended up in St. Louis, Missouri, okay, that's a problem. But if I'm keeping track of this on a day in and day out basis, a week in, week out basis, and I know what's working, what's not working, I can make adjustments along the way. If I take a left-hand turn I wasn't supposed to, that's great. I just turn around and get back on course. It's much easier to do this on a week-to-week basis and make those adjustments than it is 5 or 6 months down the road. Because at that point, if you're nowhere near your goals, you're like, I'm just going to give up at this point. If I can make tweaks and adjustments as I go along and I know what activities are working and what aren't, I'm going to follow that plan. And don't make it complicated. Don't put 15 things on here that you're going to do, because it's not going to happen. There's only going to be anywhere from about 3 to 5 different activities that you're going to do that are essential to getting to where you need to be. Anybody want to identify maybe some activities or things that they could put on here that might work for them?
Can I ask a question?
Sure, you can do that too, absolutely.
So as far as calling expireds, do you have a good place to track down those phone numbers? And then you have to cross-reference them with the do not call, but people have cell phones now. It's not like going in the white pages or like, how do you find cell phones?
Here's the thing, I would actually subscribe to a service, or maybe your market center subscribes to a service where they're actually able to scrub phone numbers against the do not call list. It's very difficult for us individually to do that. When you're ready to do that, I would say talk to your market center and find out if there's like a Red-X or a service like that that they use. Because honestly, you don't want to be out there randomly calling expires and just grabbing an MLS list and just calling them, because, and which is a great point, and I appreciate you bringing this up. When you go out there and you're trying to add people you don't know to your database, and expireds is your source. All right, you've got to be very careful about that, because you don't want to get a $10,000 or even a $40,000 fine for calling somebody who's on the do not call list. So they have to be scrubbed against the do not call list. And there's a lot of services that are out there that provide, databases for that, or give you lists depending on zip codes and things like that. So find out. If not, it's something that you can also subscribe to. And it also, sometimes it comes with a dialer so they can make the calls, and as soon as somebody picks up, you get connected, that sort of thing. So there's a couple of ways around it. Expireds are a little tricky because you do have to have something like that that will actually scrub the database. For sale by owners is a different story. For sale by owners are on Zillow, for salebyowner.com, Fizbo.com. They're putting their number out there, so you don't have to worry about that. The fact that they're advertising their number and you contact them because they are looking for business and you're going to have that conversation, that's different. You can do that anytime you want, right? Because they're putting their number out there.
Oh,
now,
good.
when they want to talk to us, it's a different story, but that's something that's out there that everybody can use.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So how about some activities?
Phone calls.
Phone calls, absolutely. Yep, phone calls. Who do we call them? Who at this point are we going to call?
Your database.
Yep. It says I got to have 20 conversations this week. We're talking everybody and anyone, right?
Yeah.
And just remember, our database, our sphere of influence, okay? Yes, it's our phone. It's also any email addresses we have. It's also social media. You may have 300 people in your phone, but I bet you got 700 people that you're connected with on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or any of that stuff, right?
Right.
Reach out to them. Facebook Messenger.
I feel like a good way to practice is call your mom. Like, call your family and say, just want to make sure that you realize, just because we don't live in the same state, I can still refer you or anyone else that who's talking about, moving, buying or selling. So just keep that in mind. And because a lot of people are like, in fact, we have my husband has an office manager who lives in Denver and we're in New Hampshire, and she's worked for him for 10 years. She does all my monthly P&L. I send her all my expenses, all that stuff. She emailed me the other day asking me what kind of gift she should get her realtor. I'm like, oh my God.
Yep.
Like, how did she not know that? So you'd be surprised. And just use that as an icebreaker with people that you already know, and then you'll be comfortable with your script that you're coming up with or that you're following, and then go for the ones that you don't know.
Absolutely. That's a great point. How many people knew that Keller Williams is the largest brokerage in the world? Over 185,000 agents, 51 different countries. Right? You go on vacation somewhere, look for the local Keller Williams office. We're pretty much everywhere. I've done that. Go in and introduce yourself to people. Build these networks. There are people out there, there are agents in Keller Williams that all they do are referrals. They know people all over the world and they just send business their way, and they make a quick 25-30% off the transaction. All right. Don't limit this by locality, geography, anything like that. You can pretty much help anybody anywhere. Okay.
Become friends with, agents in your hometown.
Yeah.
And so that you have someone to call. I've referred one person, so now I know that they're good and the people, my friends liked them. So it's your hometown. It's everyone you've met so far, you know, your people that you've known for a long time. They don't understand that you can still help them even though you're not in their state.
Exactly. Yep. Very good. So any activities that we have here, it's just going out and having real estate conversations. You know, what are you going to do? And if you sit there and say like, okay, you know what, I want a door knock. I'm just going to go around my neighborhood. Fine, go ahead. Door knock 10 houses. Talk to them. Let them know that you're in real estate if they're looking to do anything, because you got a vested interest. You live in the neighborhood, right? Talk to people. You may find that like, okay, I really am not comfortable with doing this, but I'm going to give it a shot anyways. Okay, fantastic. Excellent. Go ahead. See what it's like. I've had plenty of people that have said, oh, well, there's no way I'm going to do this, or there's no way I'm going to do that. I said, just try it, do it. They come back, she's like, I got 3 listings. I'm going to keep doing that. Perfect. That's great. See, you surprise yourself. You never know. You never know. Get out of your comfort zone. You'd be surprised.
And I'm sorry, let me just interject one more thing and then I'll shut up.
That's okay.
I remember, I said this on the day 1 of Ignite. I remember way back in the day watching Oprah, and something that she said has always stuck with me. She was when she was really into the weight loss thing, and she said, I used to pray to Jesus to give me discipline. And what I didn't realize is discipline comes from doing it. Just like working out. You do it for a week, and then you're like, oh crap, I'm going to feel guilty if I don't do it. It's just, it comes from doing it.
Yep. Absolutely. You know, take the action. You know, here's the thing. How many of us learn to swim by reading a book?
Yikes.
Yeah. Jump in the water, right? Just got to do it. Same thing.
Evan,
with this.
can I ask I was gonna ask, so for the person who's starting out calling contacts for the first time, really,
Yeah.
would you recommend employing the DTD to, I struggle to say that, methodology, or would you just kind of, for the person who's starting out, like, would you just sort of start going through your phone?
You know, whatever's going to get you to do it, just do it. The DTD2, for everybody's knowledge, is essentially there are folks in KW that basically took the entire alphabet and broke it up into 2 letters a week, 2 random letters a week. And since there's 26 letters in the alphabet, and there's 52 weeks in the year, it basically works out to be that the same letters are used, you know, in the same fashion. So it gives you an equal amount of letters, you know, per quarter in each year. Anyway, the math works, whatever it is. But they're random letters, like 1 week is A and W. All right. So everybody with the last name A and the last name W are the people that you reach out to, however that ends up being. Okay. And what you do is it basically takes you away from going down, I'll start with the A's and then the B's and the C's and all this stuff. It makes it at least a little bit interesting. And there are themes with each of it. But you can go that route. The DTD2 schedule is out there in a lot of different places. If you don't have it or have access to it, you can go to KW Connect and you can type that in there. It'll give you the schedule, or talk with your market center. They may have it. The other thing is too, is just, you know, start going through and just start picking a letter or 2 and just start calling, whatever it is ends up being, or texting or anything like that. Whatever is going to get you into taking that action, just do it. All right. Okay. Just do it. So whatever's the easiest thing for you, but make sure we're keeping track of it. Put these people in command, put notes in there about what you said to them, because when you talk to them again 3 months from now, as part of your follow-up plan on the SMART plans, which we'll talk about down the road here, you know, you're going to have a note in there saying like, oh yeah, last time we talked said that, you know, daughter's getting braces from the orthodontist and stuff like that, but they're thinking about getting a bigger home because, you know, something like that, whatever.
Right.
You're going to have those notes in there, right? Good point. So.
Thank you.
All right, everybody good with the 411? You got it in your packet right there. And I would say that they actually, in this one, they have the professional and personal goals. So you can put personal goals in there too, you know, whatever that may end up being, whatever you want it to be. So keep track of that and use it. Make a photocopy of it and make sure you make enough copies to last you throughout the year, because each month you're going to start over again and you're going to follow each week, 1 week at a time. Don't jump ahead or do anything, because it all depends on what you do this week. And that's going to lay out the foundation for next week. All right. So big why. All right. Don't lose focus. very easy to say it. I don't like using negatives in here. I say like increase your focus, be purposeful. All right, something along those lines. Your big why is the entire drive that you are, why you're in this business, right? We came up with a dollar amount early on, but one of the things that we really should be doing is we should be digging deeper as to why we got into real estate. All right, for a lot of us, it's more of a personal reason for getting in here. Maybe we do have debts that we want to pay off, but something, maybe it's important for us. We had a bad experience with an agent. We don't want anybody else to have that experience. Maybe it's the fact that like, okay, I'm a single parent and, raising kids, and I don't want other single parents to have to rent. I want them to help them find houses. Maybe it's, I really have a passion for luxury, and it's something that I really want to break into. Never had the opportunity when I was younger, and I want to do that now. Whatever it is, okay? We all have a deep-seated reason for why we got into real estate and why we tortured ourselves going through that class and why we're torturing ourselves listening to me right now. There's a whole reason for all of this, right? So dig deep in that. Write that down, okay? Remind yourself on a consistent basis while we're in here, because there's going to be good days and there's going to be plenty of bad days. And we need to be reminded on a consistent basis, okay? We need to understand, we need to remember, okay? There's a reason why we're in this. So in those days when we're shooting for an appointment and we don't get anything, or maybe those days where we don't even talk to anybody, we tried for 3 hours, you don't get anybody, okay? There's gonna be the great days where we get 3 appointments in a row, boom, 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 and everything is fantastic. But we gotta be able to get ourselves through the highs and the lows of what goes on here. Because we are all entrepreneurs. We're the CEOs of our own corporation. If you want to look at it as this is your business, that's the correct way to look at it. Okay. We are responsible for our business. And just like everything else, highs and lows as you go through there. And if you have anything there that can remind you of what your purpose is and why you're doing this, keep that in front of you. A lot of people put their big why in front of us and put that exhibit that we did earlier right next to it. Write out the full reason as to why you are in this business, right? One of the things you want to do is you want to create something that's going to resonate with you, that's going to be an emotional tie, right? So one of the things they actually have in terms of the last page, okay, is on page 8 is an affirmation, right? It's a personal affirmation. And this is where you're going to take what you have for your big why, your big reason, okay, and actually put it into words and post this in front of you, okay? And having that big why and having it labeled out there is going to constantly remind you as to what the purpose is behind this. So if you get a little discouraged or things aren't going your way, read that. Take a look at that first exhibit that we did and let that sink in as to what's important about this. Just like we talk to people when we're talking on the phone, say like, okay, so you want to, you're looking to, move to Montana. What's important about that? Well, constantly remind yourself and ask yourself, what's important about me being in this business? Okay. Oh, Lisa, thanks for putting the DTD2 system in there. Okay, good. Yep. Have this in front of you. Take the time this weekend, okay, not just to put your goals in here and not just to fill out your 411, but to actually take a look at this affirmation and come up with something that's going to actually work for you. And make sure it's realistic in terms of you following it. Don't put something in there that you don't believe. Have faith and confidence in yourself and put it in there and have something that's going to remind you and give you the courage and the strength to keep going. It's a simple business, but it's not easy. Just like the bull law, all right? It's a simple business, but it's not easy. And anything that we can do to help ourselves go and keep things going, we want that, right? And the second part of it is what we have right here. It says accountable people achieve results others can only dream of. Partner up with people here in this Ignite class or people in your office. Create accountability groups, have an accountability partner, somebody that's going to keep you on track. We cannot hold ourselves accountable. I still have not found anybody. We are the worst people to hold ourselves accountable to, all right? But having somebody else in there or working alongside somebody on a day in and day out basis, that's going to help us to stay on track, okay, to get through the bad days, celebrate the good days, right? And test and challenge each other. Having an accountability partner is one of the essential parts to keeping this going. So you come up with your affirmation, you write that out, you've got that in front of you, share it with a person in your accountability partner and accountability group, right? I've got people all over that I script practice and role play with, right? And the people that hold me accountable. I've got my own coach. I've got other people like Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, people that I, partner with and talk about what we plan on doing, what we want to do, and all of that stuff. And it keeps everything in check, keeps the focus on, and make sure that you don't fall by the wayside, that you do exactly what you say you're going to do. Pick an accountability partner. It's one of the best things that you'll ever do. A lot of times the people that get together, especially in Ignite, all right, they form partnerships and friendships that last a long time. There's plenty of people that are out there that have been in this business for a while that still have their accountability partners. It's a big thing. It's a big, big, big piece of success here. Okay. All right. So recap, ahas. All right. What are some things that we have taken away from this? What are some things that now you know that you understand now that you didn't understand before? Takeaways, anything like that? Anybody have anything?
The biggest for me, this is Kevin from Brockton. The biggest for me is laying out our goals, the exercise of, for example, 5 things that we want to achieve and just figuring out what the total is and breaking it down as simple as this is what I need to do each day to reach that goal. It makes it seem a lot more tangible. So
Yes.
by far, my favorite part of this teaching.
Good. Excellent. This says goal setting and command is great. Yep, absolutely. Yep. All of that.
And I like that you walked us through how to set that all up in command so that you kind of have that daily blueprint of what you need to be, consistently trying to do. That was very, very helpful.
Well, the good part about using command too is that it's based on artificial intelligence. So it's actually learning your business. So as you put things in there and you keep track of things and you get in that habit of setting time aside each day to update your command, it's learning what you're doing. So after a while, you're going to find out, okay, what are my primary areas that I generate business from? Is it Facebook ads? Really? I'm getting a lot of my business. Okay, great. Continue to do that. Conversion rates go up. Okay. Your closings go, all this stuff, and everything is right there in front of you. You keep up to date with that, you're going to be able to see your business grow. And you're going to know at a moment's notice whether you're in line or out of alignment with your goals. So that's good. It's a useful tool.
So being a new agent, I was overwhelmed, but now the way you put setting up your goals is a little bit more manageable now.
Right. And for anybody that's not sure about the activities that you're going to take, you're going to learn that in the next couple of modules. Okay. Between prospecting and marketing, you're going to learn what activities you can do. It's going to be a combination of both of those. But again, we're not going to overwhelm ourselves. We're going to pick anywhere from 3 to 5 activities, and that's what we're going to do. And just evaluate it at the end of each week and say, okay, did this help or did this hurt? Okay, maybe I have to change it. That's fine. But this is how we understand. We go out there, we experiment, either it works or it doesn't, and then we move on. We make adjustments. That's all. But now we've got a roadmap. We've got a plan. We know where we want to go and we know how to get there. Plain and simple. Good. All right, perfect. So the activities that they have here, all right, when people, when they list a lot of the things and they talk about what we need to do at the end of each one of these things, all right, they talk about some of the things that we can do, the daily success habits, all right. So when they have the note here about 10 contacts at it, 10 conversations a day, 10 handwritten notes, and 10 home previews per week, right? This is just giving you at least an outline of something that you can do. And it's up to you in terms of how you want to approach this. But if you're doing something at least consistently every single day, you're going to see business happen. Okay. I know people, including, somebody who's on here now, Roberta. Okay. She actually started calling people that she knew, and she ended up with a couple of buyers just by having conversations with people that she knew. Okay. It happens because you're taking action. All right. Anything that you do, if you do it consistently, is going to lead to results, and you're going to get that momentum. All it takes is just a simple conversation. Start off, how are you? But go out there, talk to people. All right. If you're in the store, talk to people that you don't know. Pick 2 or 3 people you don't know. And if you've got a name tag, wear the name tag. And in fact, wear the name tag upside down so that people tell you about it. And then you have conversations with them, right? Something like that, whatever it may be. But have those conversations. Reach out, talk to people you know, right? Put handwritten notes, put pen to paper, put handwritten notes out there, right? Go to open houses, anything like that, but do things that are going to help you to move your business forward. All right. And ask yourself, is this helping or hurting me right now? That's all. And you're going to get into a regular routine, a rhythm. You're going to develop those habits and everything will be good, but you got to take the actions, right? And again, here, this is near and dear to my heart, is scripts. All right. These are scripts. Honestly, you can't say enough about how this is the key to unlocking everything in this business. It really is. All right, when you're able to have a conversation with everyone and anyone, no matter what the topic is, when it comes to real estate, okay, and you have that confidence level that you can hold your own with anyone, whether it be a FSBO or a listing appointment, you know, or cousin Al who wants to use a neighbor who's a real estate agent or something like that. You can have those conversations, handle those objections, and talk and have the confidence there. I will say that if you're going to do training, you have training in your schedule, not only are you coming to Ignite, but I would put aside time to read those scripts and those script books and just understand them, rewrite them in your own language so that they sound like you. So I know that Michael brought up the point earlier about making things natural or being natural. That's great. Make the script sound genuine, natural, all that. And you're going to see how far that's going to take you. It's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Okay. Now, we don't have time to script practice and role play, but look for that in your market center, or, you know, something, partner up with some of the people that are here. Okay. And say like, hey, listen, let's spend a half an hour every morning, and let's just, before Ignite starts, maybe 8:30 to 9, let's just, you know, read through the scripts and let's role play them, right? One person be the agent, the other person be the homeowner, and vice versa. That's all, right? You're going to see how quickly you're going to get better with that. All right. And again, this is also going to help you too when you actually lead generate. All right. And you're actually talking to people and you're using the scripts. All right. All of that. Okay. So that's all that I have here. We're not going to get into the calls or do anything like that, at least at this point. However, okay, that doesn't mean that that's not part of your schedule. Like I said, you've got two things that you're responsible for right now, is the training and the lead generation. So make the call, send the text, send the Facebook Messenger post, anything like that, whatever you're going to do, but make sure you're taking that action. So if you got Ignite in the morning, you're doing that in the afternoon. And do it for a certain period of time, or go for a certain number of no's, or, you know, go for that one appointment a day. If you get one appointment a day, you'll be a capper in no time. That's your target. All right. So that's all I have. But what questions do you guys have that I haven't answered, or things that you want me to go over again or revisit or anything like that? What can I help you with?
How do we change command?
Change it to what?
I have a lot of complaints.
Change command? Well,
I have a lot of complaints, but can you get in and?
Well, let me ask you first, do you have a really solid understanding of what it can do?
I don't mean in general. I just mean certain little things.
Okay. Well, here's the thing too. We actually have regional tech training on Thursdays at 2:00. Brooke Silva, who is our regional tech trainer, puts those on. So
Yeah, the nerd.
Yep, those are fantastic. She does a phenomenal job. She is like the whiz when it comes to you know, anything and everything command related. Not only that, but within command, there is actually a help function that's on there. There's also a way to make suggestions on how to improve it or things that you'd like to see. And they take all of that seriously.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they had that. That's all I'm looking for. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And if it's something that they've heard a lot of, or they think is worthwhile, they'll make the change. You'll come in the next day being like, wow, okay. Oh, geez, didn't realize that. Can't tell you how many times you go into command and it's like, wait a minute, when did this change? I was just in here yesterday, right? But they're always looking to improve it. You don't have to wait for a version 3.0 or 4.0 or anything like that. So make the suggestions. Absolutely.
Thanks so much for the time.
Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely. So Kevin, you got a question?
Yeah, to your knowledge, other than archiving, is there any way to delete or remove people from the database?
No. And there's a reason for that too, because how many of us would accidentally delete our entire database? I know I would. I would. I would certainly make that mistake. I'd be the idiot first one who did that, right? By mistake. Then how do you get it back, right? So everything is archived. So there's a record of it. That's why there's no delete. It's all archived. So in the event that you did need to go back and get it, you know, because obviously we have rules for a lot of the things, paperwork and things like that, that we need to keep track of. So there is no delete in there. It's all archive.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And archive is just basically another word for trash. I mean, more or less. I mean, and I'm asking this because when I was inputting my contacts, I accidentally put the same person in twice, because when I put them in the first time, I looked at my database and it didn't show them.
Right.
So I put them in again, and then all of a sudden, then something, I don't remember what I did next, but all of a sudden I realized now I've got two of them, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out how to get rid of one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's trash. It's more of like a file department. You know, you're filing it away, and if it ever comes up again, you have access to it. So from some of the systems that are out there, yes, that, you know, Command doesn't have everything, and Command is basically, you know, where it is now versus where it was when it first started. It's phenomenal. It's great. I like it because it's very intuitive. And yes, there are things that could be improved, just like every other system that's out there. But good thing about this is that this is an in-house system that we develop, so we control it and we can make the changes whenever we need to. We're not, you know, basically lined up with an outside company that could potentially be bought by Zillow, and then we've got to completely revamp everything, right? There's a lot of other companies that are out there that ran into that because Zillow was buying up a lot of the software programs that are out there. So for us, you know, we've got control over it. We can do whatever we want, and we can improve it whenever we need to. So there are benefits to it. You know, I know it's not perfect, but, you know, it's still light years ahead of what else is out there too. I've seen other things out there, and you know, they're not nearly as good as that, but I'm biased, obviously.
Darren, I wanted to ask you, I assume that you know, after many years in real estate, what works best for you as far as how you reach out to your contacts. Is that something that information that you enter into your database? So what, I'm sort of thinking about tracking and tracking where my leads are turning into contacts, and how I'm figuring out my best course of action, I guess, with them.
Yeah, so you're looking at like lead sources and where things come in, and how you get your leads and how the business comes in, and all of that through Command. As you put people in there, or as leads come in, or as people you talk to, you're going to be able to put notes in there and check boxes and things like that, so that you can actually identify, you know, the source where that person came in. You know, maybe it's a Facebook ad, or maybe it's your sphere of influence, and you're going to identify, like, you know, how quickly you're able to get an appointment with them. As you put those things in there, it's tracking all that. So, you know, a couple months from now, or at the end of the year, you can go back and say, like, okay, so it didn't take 100 leads in order for me to talk to 5 people. Maybe it only took 30, and I was able to get like, you know, 6 people off of that. And that's on average. So now, you know, as you back into those numbers, what you need to do in order, if you're getting behind in your goal, what you need to do to ramp up your progress.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay, it does. I mean, I guess I'll have to be in it to figure it out, but yes.
Yeah.
Good to know. Okay.
You know, unless we've got, you know, a VA, or, you know, virtual assistant or executive assistant who could do a lot of this stuff for us, you know, it's up to us to go in and take the actions and make sure we're putting those notes in there. That's why when they finally came out with Command Mobile, it makes it a lot easier. So if you happen to talk to somebody on the phone, you can just drop the note in there in terms of what you talked about. Or if you set up an appointment, it's all right in there and it's all linked. And, you know, put some time aside to actually fill in those notes and everything associated with it, because that basically is going to pay off in the long run. Because number one, it puts you in the habit of doing that. And number two, you know, once you start getting a lot of people that you talk to, it's very difficult to remember. There are times I can't even remember who I talked to yesterday at 4 o'clock. So having all of that stuff in there makes it a lot easier for you in the long run.
Okay, good, thanks.
Yeah, take advantage of it. Absolutely.
Thanks for the workshop, Darren.
You're welcome. Absolutely. So I'll be here again on Friday, next Friday, for prospecting, as a matter of fact. But you guys have a lot of good trainers on here. These classes are really good. Nobody else offers this, so take full advantage of it. And there are replays that are available from past sessions that we've done. If you go to the Keller Williams New England YouTube channel, you'll find that, you know, Brooks Command classes are on there. Pretty much the last, I want to say maybe 6 or 7 sessions of Ignite that we've done are in there. So you can either go back, rewatch things that you've missed, or you can jump ahead if you want to. It's completely up to you. It's the Keller Williams New England YouTube channel. All right, good. Everybody all set then? Anything else I can answer?
All set. Thanks, Darren.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you showing up, and enjoy your weekend. Get out there and start talking to people.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Take care.
Peace.
Bye, Darren.
Bye-bye.